They are 7 of the most revered names in the history of ASA racing. Men who have tackled the tricky short tracks of America and emerged as champions. This Supreme 7 have captured a combined total of 11 ASA championships, as well as 136 race victories. And anytime these legends take to the track, their reputations alone earn them absolute respect from their competitors. So imagine now the ultimate Labor Day weekend fantasy. All 7 of these all-stars battling for supremacy on one of the shortest of short tracks, Elko Speedway. It's hard to imagine that a 3/8 mile bull ring will be able to contain all the talent assembled here today as ASA's magnificent 7 strap on the iron for a classic short track shootout next here on Speed.
One of the toughest competitors ever to strap behind the wheel of an ASA car is back here in Elko, Minnesota. Last season, Joey Clinton smoked the competition 9 times, but there were some bumps along the way, like a big spin at Winchester. But he did go on to win the coveted ASA National Championship. Joey Clinton is back in ASA here in Elko today, but he doesn't have his familiar 83 yellow and blue racer. He has a green 71, but this is one of Joey Clinton's former cars. Joey, you won this race last year. Can you do it again?
Well, we're going to try to. We got our same starting spot as last year, Sackett, so we brought her home in the first place finish, and you know, we just want to thank Terry Coons and Brett Sontag for giving me the opportunity here, ASA, and all the guys that have stood behind us trying to make it this year. But we want to just say hey to everybody out there and say we're trying to get it to, we'll try to see them there at the end of 400 laps.
And now Joey Clinton is a NASCAR Busch Series competitor with a great finish a couple weeks ago in Pikes Peak.
Dick Trickle is the acknowledged king of short track racing legends. In a career spanning more than 4 decades, he's earned an amazing 1,000 plus checkered flags, including 32 in the American Speed Association, en route to 2 championships. Today he starts deep in the field. Dick, if you would, compare the ASA of your championship years in '84 and '85 with the ASA of 2003.
Well, I believe there's a lot more promotion, and ASA is growing. It was good then, and it's getting better now. You know, it's racing has took a hold in this country like unreal. So NASCAR, ASA, you know, they're all doing well. I can see they're doing a lot of promotions and getting some good leaders and a good bunch of talent. So it's fun.
Dick Trickle says he needs an hour of sleep per 100 laps. Hopefully he got his 4 hours last night. Well, another Wisconsin legend, Tim Sauter, has earned 6 ASA victories en route to his championship, that coming in 1999. Tim, of course, one of 3 racing Sauter brothers and a Sauter father. Tim getting cinched up in his machine. Tim, you start deep in the field in a car that has had its struggles this season. Can you get it to the front?
I think we improved the car a lot yesterday after the first practice, and I think we can get there. We're a little rusty at this, trying to figure out the rules and set up again here, but I think we can get to the front.
Rusty, but certainly aggressive. Tim Sauter is capable if the car is. Guys?
Thanks very much, gentlemen. You know, Labor Day weekend in Minnesota historically has meant ASA short track racing at its absolute best. The challenge today, tougher than ever for the 400 laps around Elko Speedway. We, along with this huge crowd, want to get it going. Let's go down to the front of the grid.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Elko Speedway, about a half hour south of the Twin Cities metro area. I'm Greg Creamer, along with Jim Trado. Of course, you've already heard from our pit reporters, Rob Albright. Great to have Bob Dillner back with us. And Jim, we've been talking about the fact these champions, the 7 that are here, put up some unbelievable stats in their past. A couple of them are working on some current numbers.
We're looking at 1/3 of the champions ever in ASA here in one field. 7 teams going for the win. 2 drivers specifically, Butch Miller and Kevin Sawinski, have already won titles. They're locked in the 2003 championship chase. Kevin Sawinski in the driver's seat right now, leading with very, very consistent finishes. Butch Miller just a tick off. He has a finish of 19th. It's his worst this year. He can't afford any faults throughout the rest of the season to have a shot at the championship. Sawinski right now is in the driver's seat.
It's going to be very fun to watch that unfold. We're going to get underway with the Grease Lightning Orange Blast 400 when we come back. Don't go away. Speed Channel's live coverage of the ASA Racing Series Grease Lightning Orange Blast 400 is brought to you by Grease Lightning Orange Blast, the official consumer automotive cleaner to greaser of ASA. and by BF Goodrich Tires, the official tire of ASA. Welcome back, everybody. You saw the huge crowd that is on hand, and they are looking at what's going to be a great race on a very challenging track. Joey Miller is a bit of an Elko Speedway specialist. We asked him to take us around and give us a tour.
Elko's my home track. The only thing you got to look at going into one is there's a bump. As you try to get down on the right on the bottom. Coming out, try not to spin your tires because it's a tight corner. 3 and 4, it's about the same thing, though you don't have a bump. And then going out of 4, you just try to spin the tires and head to the finish line.
Boy, it's going to be fun to watch 400 laps with, as you can see by our race analysis, 33 cars out there, 150 miles race distance, well over $200,000 in purse money, 3 mandatory stops, and 28 drivers broke the track record of 95.2 miles an hour. We're going to get you right to that starting lineup. And on pole, first ever, what a story for young Chris Wimmer. He's joined by Joey Clanton. Rows 2 will be Travis Kittleson and Joey Miller. We move to rows 3 and 4. Reed Sorensen, Robbie Pyle, both very quick. But Butch Miller and Kevin Sawinski, both in the mix. They're the 2 battling for that championship. And the obvious question is, as we get down the end of the season, who's feeling the pressure?
I would like to think it's Kevin, but I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself. You know, it's probably me. You know, we've got to do our best, you know, and finish every race the best we can. Hope he goofs up, because if he doesn't goof up, I don't know if we can catch him.
Well, I'd say probably myself, but we're not approaching it that way. Hopefully we can keep this #1 car out in front of Butch and put the pressure back to him.
Rows 5 and 6, a nice mix of young drivers and the veteran Mike Garvey. Rows 7 and 8, Rich Bickle, Mr. Versatile, Peter Cozzolino, 2 wins. Scott Legacy back and Greg Stewart. We jump to rows 9 and 10, Glenn Allen Jr., Scott Hanser, the rookie Davin Seitz with a win. But for 2-time champ Gary St. Amant, it has been a frustrating season. Problem after problem. You have to wonder why.
Chemistry, I think that's the biggest thing. You know, we started out the year with a new team. I left a team that I was with for 6 years, and you know, it takes a total team package. It's not the driver, it's not just the car, it's the whole package that it takes to win races and championships.
Rows 11 and 12 bring us Rick Beebe, Boris Yurkovich, the rookie Ed Brown, but 95 champ Ryan Repner is back, and I'll tell you what, Ryan seems to think that things are a bit different.
Well, that's for sure. You know, our new team's had a few bumps along the way, and you know, the competition seems to be a little stiffer. So, you know, I'd like to think our championship was sweet, but it's tougher.
Rows 13 and 14, a good mix of young up-and-comers and the 2 legends, Dick Trickle and Sauter. Rows 15 and 16, the rookie Chris Stump, Island Payne, and Wolke. And rounding out the 33rd spot, row 17, is Greg Williams. Now, we, of course, are going to have some great onboard shots for you. First, it'll be coming from our 9th place qualifier, number 11, Toby Porter, the Meyer Chev. He got that great pole at our most recent round, the first of his career. He'll be giving us some great shots. Then, qualifying 1 spot in front of him in 8th, the gentleman who won that most recent race, number 62, Robbie Pyle, in the Citgo MBA Chevy. And finally, number 1, our points leader, qualified 7th, a little farther back than he's used to. Kevin Sawinski is going to be giving us some great shots in that SK Hand Tools machine. Let's head down to Bob Dillner.
Greg, one thing that you have to remember about this race, it is a Labor Day Classic for ASA to be in Minnesota. For nearly 30 years, it was held at the old State Fairgrounds racetrack, but that is no longer, so they are trying to set up a tradition here at Elko, and they are doing it with a bang. A lot of people want to win this race, Rob.
Scott Hansen starts in the 18th position, 1 spot ahead of his teammate Gary St. Amant. Bob Harshbarger said he was campaigning 2 cars today and probably for the rest of the season. He said with all the bad luck we've had, we've doubled our chances of getting a finish, guys.
Well, as always, a little bit of interest and developments here, and here we go. We expect green on the front straight. We are green. 400 laps underway here at Elko Speedway. And right off the mark, look at that, Joey Clanton absolutely refusing to let Wimmer really enjoy that first ever pole. He's parked himself right on his outside and actually noses ahead, coming out of 4 and down the front straight. On board here, look at that, how close it is. That was Toby Porter closing up on the back of Sawinski. Now we go on board, Robbie Pyle trying to work the outside of Dick Trickle, Butch Miller. And there is the green number 71 as it eases into the lead. Joey Miller now coming after Wimmer with a vengeance, working the outside. If anybody can get around this track about anywhere, I think it'd be Joey.
Well, Joey Clanton was very dominating towards the end of the race 1 year ago, but the tire compound was different. B.F. Goodrich had a different tire compound altogether. It was a harder surface tire, so we may see Clanton burning up the field, but he might be burning up his tires in the process.
Well, Rob Albright, that's a good question. Obviously, he has nothing to lose in this one-off.
He doesn't, and in fact, Joey was the surprise of qualifying yesterday. Not because he isn't capable of qualifying up front, but because the 71 struggled in practice. He said he needed 10 laps to get it going, but he really charged into both turns 1 and 3, got himself an outside front row starting position, and everybody else said, uh-oh. Now, beneath that unfamiliar green skin, you see a yellow roll cage. That is because this is one of the cars that Clanton drove en route to his 2002 championship. Guys?
Well, Rob, you bring up a good point that if he can get to the front and hang on for 10 laps, he may be able to really put that together. And I'm watching Joey, and he's sitting there just working that outside line. Bob Dillner, he seems to have found something up high.
Well, Joey Miller, it's no surprise that he is very fast. He knows this racetrack very well. But crew chief Bon Suss told me this morning the biggest thing about Joey is he's got to make it to the end. Joey has had trouble last year and this year make it to the end of the race. What he told Joey this morning is he said patience is key, and he's reminding him that during this race.
One thing Joey Miller is not is either shy or a pacifist. He's aggressive and likes to go for it. And right now, Wimmer not exactly letting the 71 of Clanton get away. Chris Wimmer doing a superb job, Jim, working that very, very low line and keeping the angles working for him, staying right with him.
Chris Wimmer's had some extremely strong runs lately. His first pole for the Wimmer family in ASA. Now he's battling Joey Clanton, last year's series champion. You know, they're calling Chris Wimmer the silent killer, the silent one. He doesn't say a whole lot, but man, he's saying it now in volumes on the racetrack.
Yeah, he's got a big right foot, if nothing else, that's for sure. Now, take a look as, that battle continues. Wimmer a little bit loose, and that gives Clanton a little bit of drive off the turn. Meanwhile, on the right side of our double screen is the battle for 7th on back. That's currently held by the 52 of Butch Miller, but you can see right in that mix is the number 2 of Chad Wood, 17, Mike Garvey in that mix as well, and the number 1 of Sawinski, Toby Porter, the number 11. That's just a great group. And Todd Cleaver, who seems to me to have come alive a little bit as well, Jim.
Certainly has, and these 4 up front will have their hands full. If they don't get singled out, they're going to lose that gap they have currently, because on this tight 3/8 mile, you cannot get all the gas pedal down because Joey Clanton's running the outside, Chris Wimmer to the bottom. They want to run single file to get this racetrack strung out a bit, but no chance yet.
Yeah, and again, Wimmer just refusing to give up that inside line. You think bull ring? That's a bull ring. They're on one, Rob.
Chris Wimmer gave up his crew chief, in fact, just 3 races ago at Berlin. He sent him off with a 3rd place finish, his career best, and guys were under caution.
Caution is out on the speedway. We'll update you as to what happened. Well, there's one of the cars, the number 37 of Ronnie Hawley. There was another car involved, Jim, but I didn't quite get the number as it drove off. So we are under caution here as we have completed 15 laps of 400 here. There is Travis Kittleson. Now, one of the interesting things is we've asked, since this is a 400-lap race, 7 champions returning, we decided to ask some of the racers, who is your ASA racing hero? The first one we asked, that we're going to play back for you, is this very fast rookie, Travis Kittleson.
I would say it'd be a tie between Rich Bickle and Dick Trickle, just because how much they've achieved in such little time, and how much Dick's achieved in a great amount of time. I just really look up to that and the success they've had.
You've heard of race cars being pre-staged in a false grid, but so too are the haulers. Take a look at this beautiful convoy forming up at Burnsville Mall, just up the road a little bit, where they staged all of the big haulers for the ASA Series, Burnsville Center, and then they let them roll, and they made their way down to Elko Speedway. And look at this. I mean, look at this convoy of some of the finest short track racing in the world. Champions and champions that are in the building, heading their way right there to Elko. That right-hand turn leads you to one of the toughest, most demanding ovals in the world. And bringing the trucks in. Look at that shot. And from that to this, the bull ring of Elko. Want to remind you about Totally NASCAR coming up tonight, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Speed. If you're a stock car fan and you're a NASCAR fan, then you're a Totally NASCAR fan. Tonight, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Speed. Well, pace car continues to bring the field around, and through 20 laps of racing, Jim, we've already had 4 lead changes officially at the line, and that's like what, 1/100th of what we're going to be doing here today. It's phenomenal. And you can see lights out on the pace car. Let's check in quick with Rob.
Chad Orr was the jackman for Joey Clanton in the championship season, serving as crew chief today. He's running awfully hard, awfully early, side by side. Is that the strategy?
We got a pretty good race car. We're just going to hang on right now and see how long we can run like that. I think he's running a real good pace for Joey right now. Joey likes to drive the car a little harder than most guys. We'll see how we end up in the end.
Joey Clanton running all the way from the front, hard as he can go, guys.
Yeah, that's pretty much his plan. Pretty much anytime he hits the track. Listen to it. There it is. We are back to green. Clanton brings him around, and if nothing else for Joey Clanton, this yellow flag got his pursuers behind him in single file instead of alongside of him.
Single file restarts is the way to go here in ASA. And on this tight little racetrack, that can mean some lap traffic here in the next 15 or 20 laps already in this 400 lapper. We might see them well before lap 100.
And right before that yellow was called, you'll notice that the number 15 of Joey Miller was able to sneak by our pole sitter Chris Wimmer. Meanwhile, Mike Garvey, number 17, tucked in behind the 52 of Miller, that 7th and 8th, and up and around the outside comes the number 1 of Sawinski. Oh, that was close. I don't know if they touched, but you couldn't have got much more than a piece of paper between him and Sawinski, that outside line. Of course, this is one of those situations where Kevin might be listening a little bit to what Joey Miller tells him about how to get around here, and Kevin looks quick, and he's taking a run at Butch.
Well, the Country Joe Racing Shops, Joe Miller's dad, Joe Miller, is the owner of this team and Joey Miller's efforts. They test here at Elko Speedway when they get the opportunity. Also, Kevin Sawinski, when he has a new chassis design, because they do their own chassis in-house, they come here to Elko Speedway to shake it down. So he has a lot of laps here. May not be in competition on a weekly Saturday night basis that Joey has, but certainly Sawinski is one to watch here because this is his own track.
And we've had some problems for the number 36 car of Tim Sauter. Let's head down to Bob Dillon for an update.
John Benke is the crew chief from the Lester Buildings, number 36. John, what did Tim say about that incident?
Oh, he just got in there a little bit hot. What can I say?
Very simple for John Benke, and we got another caution, guys.
Caution is out on the circuit, and boy, right when Reed Sorensen was trying to sneak by, Robbie Pyle couldn't do it. So Clanton once again, as he was just about to come up and put another lap on the number 10 of Greg Williams. Greg gets a little bit of a break, but now we see Toby Porter trying to find out exactly where he's supposed to queue up. This short track keeps him confused.
And indeed, we saw that Greg Williams, who had damage from the incident with Ronnie Hawley, he was almost down a lap already. So I mentioned lap 100. We're talking about before lap 45 getting cramps into lap traffic.
You know, we've had a number of races in a row here, and we thought it'd be interesting to see just what a race team does in between events when they're packed together. So we went along, or I should say that Jim Trado went along with Toby Porter's Meyer team, and here's the first look.
After the team's third place finish of the season, a third at Lake Erie Speedway, the team had a lot of work ahead of them. Crew Chief Howie Leto and Car Chief Ron Trado had to drive ahead 11 hours straight between two drivers to get back to the shop.
Well, obviously, if you run up in the top 3 or one of the 2 extra cars that they decide to impound, you've got to get through TAC and so on and so forth. And other than that, you just kind of sit down, you talk to drivers a little bit. Everything's fresh in your mind at that point. You want to kind of go over the race a little, get the car through TAC, get everything loaded up, and you got a long ride home, you know, so you like to get on the road fairly early. You have a certain order that everything has to go in the truck and get loaded, and which pit box goes in when the car goes in first, and so on and so forth. This race, the guys had to catch an early plane out, so they kind of left before we could get everything loaded, so it was up to a few of us to finish the job.
Well, you might think when the racing's over that, hey, we're done. It's all nice and easy now, but it takes a while to get you packed up and on the road. Go Motorsports. We're going to be checking in with them a few more times. Here is your top 10. You are not going to forget to watch Wind Tunnel tonight, coming up at 9 p.m. Eastern. A great lineup of guests with Dave include 2-time Winston Cup champ and yesterday's Southern 500 winner Terry Labonte. Also, AMA motorcycle standout Kurt Roberts will join Dave in the studio. Wind Tunnel tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. We just going back to green here, and it is number 71, Joey Clanton, and he continues to lead. And just that quickly, we also watched the pole sitter, 0-5 of Chris Wimmer, able to get back by and around the number 15 of Joey Miller. And now Travis Kittleson got a good run on him, ducks down underneath and pulls into that third spot. Hop on board now behind that battle, watching out the window of number 63, Robbie Pyle, and that Sitco Chevrolet. And he's starting to put a nose underneath the Great Clip Chevy of Miller.
A number of the teams, because this is only the second trip here to Elko Speedway, last year being the first, stuck around last night. There was a 100-lap Mars Series late model race. Joey Miller was not in the event, but a lot of teams, including Joey's, were in the grandstand looking at how this racetrack develops. If it's a two-groove racetrack, I understand there's some gearing concerns. Gary St. Amant told me before the race, guys that can run the top are running perhaps a different gear than the guys that can run on the bottom of the racetrack.
Well, number 63, as we watch now, Pyle still trying to work his way by at this stage. See if he can move up. He gets the nose in front right now. That's good news for him. But right behind him comes the 29 of Reed Sorensen. And we all know that Reed Sorensen looking tough. Now here's the battle on the right side of the screen. The 2 points leaders working the 7th and 8th positions right now. And Bob Dillner, the number 1 of Sawinski, looks good around the outside.
Yeah, that team know they are good here. Kevin told me yesterday, I said, hey, you didn't qualify that well, yet you were very quick in practice. He says, it was the old driver screw up. I screwed up, I made the wrong adjustments on the car and drove it too hard. He says, this car is awesome, and he will be going to the front trying to get another Labor Day Classic win here in Minnesota.
I tell you, Bob, he went around Butch Miller and just easily pulled away, coming up to put a lap on Holly. And he's making up some quick time. There he goes by the 10 of Williams. And he's going to be closing on that group up front. His next victim would be the 29 of Sorensen. There's a bit of a margin there. Meanwhile, up front, that green machine, the number 71 of Joey Clanton, the Terry's Automotive Group car, running very well. Behind him is the 05 Chris Wimmer of the Polaris entry. And Rob Albright looks like they've found some speed again.
Yes, they have. Chris started on the pole, of course, ran side-by-side with Joey Clanton for a number of laps, then side-by-side with Miller. Now he seems content to ride second. Ron Wimmer, crew chief, what's he saying about his race car?
Well, Chris is just saying he's got a good race car. Don't let me burn myself out. So we said, yeah, just keep running your pace.
Okay, guys.
Oh, we had a big incident out there, and number 80, Refner, one of our former champions, was involved in it. A couple other cars as well. But everybody able to just sort of drive off amazingly on this tight track with all this traffic. Looks like most everybody got away with it without anything too severe happening. You can see a little bit of rubbing going on there for Mr. Refner.
That's about car number 8,000 instead of 80 on the right front of the Morton Salt Menard Chevy. And Brian's one of the drivers that really looks forward to racing these bull rings. He's raced the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, was Rookie of the Year there, took his championship that got a Craftsman Truck ride, but he likes what he has here. A nice team based out of Stevens Point, Wisconsin. Great sponsor, Wisconsin company as well. And Brian Refner wants to do well because he really has put the second half of the season in great succession. Now, right on the bottom of the racetrack is Greg Williams. Trying to stay clear of him is the 80 of Brian Refner, who gets together with Richie Bickle there. Bickle spun. We couldn't quite tell which car it was, but as they went around lap traffic, they got high. Actually, Refner got a little bit high, it looked like, and got into Bickle.
Yeah, it almost looked like the number 10 of Williams was trying to hit the disappear button, and finally he had to blend right just a little bit, and that caught them out. And he had to 80 Refner lift it, and he and Bickle went around. So have to see what happens there. I'll check in with Rob Albright on the number 80 who's heading your way, Rob.
Of course, most of the drivers didn't want to get this soon, didn't want to come in this soon. They wanted to try to get to lap 100 before they changed right side tires. Brian Refner has no choice. He may have flat spotted those rights. He'll be bringing the machine on pit road this time. Guys?
Well, if he flat spotted those rears, they're round again because he did a great snap turn and just gassed it, so he brought those back true. But yeah, those fronts could be in some trouble here, and obviously, as you said, plus if there was a little contact, and it certainly looks like there may have been there with Bickle, that they want to take a look at that as well, going just for rights.
You saw how weird this pit road is. It's encircling the entire interior of this 3/8 mile oval. Brian Refner's already in the basement, really, of turn 2, way on the bottom, and he had to come all the way in from turn 3, slowly down 25 miles per hour.
Rob Albright?
Yeah, and it was an uneventful stop for Brian Refner. Very quick stop. Might have been good enough last night, guys, to have been in the money on the National Pit Stop Contest. He didn't really need it under caution. Now he'll rejoin the field at the tail end, but he'll have fresh right side tires, gentlemen.
All right, well, it'll be interesting to see if Brian can start to run it up a little bit when we go back to green. There is a good look at the number 44 of Peter Cozzolino, two-time winner this year, and he was one of the drivers we talked to. Who do you admire in ASA?
Well, I'm going to have to pick two. It's going to be Mike Miller and Dick Trickle, because anybody that can drink 2 or 3 pitchers of beer the night before, and I've seen it done several times, go out and whip our tail the next day is a hero of mine.
Welcome back to Elko Speedway here in Elko, Minnesota, and we are just back to green flag racing. And number 10, you can see Greg Williams. He is wounded, and they're getting around him in a big hurry as you hop on board with Robbie Pyle. And very quickly, as a result, that's allowed our leader, Joey Clanton, to open it up. You know, people were kind of impressed by the fact he qualified outside front row. He hasn't been around this for a little while, but this is a guy who's serious about getting involved.
Joey Clanton in the number 71 car actually went to the shop in Joliet, Illinois, as soon as he was out of the blue trailer in the Busch Series land after Bristol. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, he spent time in the shop along with Chad Orr getting this car to where they like it. I talked to Brett Sontag, the team's traditional driver, now in the spotter stand for this event. He said he couldn't believe the work Joey himself was doing on the race car to prepare it for here at Elko.
Yeah, we saw a little puff of smoke, and it looked like it may have been from Clanton, but it was the 37 of Hawley. Meanwhile, Travis Kittleson is just sort of sitting back and biding his time, Rob.
And that's not typical, as you know, of Travis Kittleson. From time to time this season, he's been accused of being a little too aggressive. I just spoke with his crew chief, Gary Crooks. He said, I had a conversation with Travis. I said, we've got to get to lap 100 on those right side tires, so be a little patient. Looks like he's listening to his crew chief's advice, gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, he's just tucked right in behind Wimmer and hasn't shown him a nose, hasn't done anything like that. It's just sort of following along. And that's some pretty good confidence when you've got a guy like Robbie Pyle right behind you. And closing on Pyle is now the 29 of Reed Sorensen, who had a great qualifying run in 5th in that AC-Delco Bennett Lumber and Fort City Race Cars machine. Meanwhile, there's Pyle, and we're going to go back a little bit further. You can see the green and blue Timberwolf Chevy of Butch Miller now up to 8. Right behind him, the man in black, the Janikin car of 17, Garvey. And these two guys have accounted for some 6 wins already this year in the championship. Bob Dillner right now, Garvey looks like he's pretty content to ride.
I don't know about that, Greg. I just spoke to crew chief Shane Tesh, and he told me that car is wicked loose. I said, is it adjustable on the pit stop? And he said, I don't know. We made a spring change yesterday, and we think we went the wrong way. That could spell trouble for the Janikin team.
Well, I tell you, and as you were saying that, you could see as he went to throttle, he got a little bit crossed up. And you can see that car is loose. Now, if you want anybody driving a car that's wicked loose, I contest it's Mike Garvey. The guy can handle that, and we've seen him do it already this year. And if he's that loose, he's still doing a nice job staying with Miller. Meanwhile, outside, the number 99, the legend Dick Trickle, in the 20th spot right now. Well, he's going at it with another of the very fastest guys on his racetrack, 42, Rich Bickle. Great to see Dick Trickle back behind the wheel, and the number 99 at bat.
It's amazing to see that they have this car together for Dick Trickle. He ran the number 99 for his championship seasons, and every year he ran here in ASA back in the 80s, and he's run each year on this Labor Day weekend. The first time not at Minnesota State Fair, but certainly great to have him back, part of the tradition, part of the history of ASA here today.
Ooh, Dick running a little wide, and there goes the number 94 right underneath him with Paul Payne. And also, look at this battle, the 2 teammates. Points leader Kevin Sawinski down underneath. His teammate, the number 15, Joey Miller. There, folks, is an onboard shot for you.
And these are teammates going at it. I just wonder who they're cheering for. In the grandstand, half the stands are filled with Country Joe Racing fans. I talked to Kevin before the race. He said, hey, my owner Joe, he builds homes for a living, Country Joe Homes, and he handed out at least 100 tickets to people who bought houses from him. So now at this point, running side by side, you got to wonder, who are they rooting for, Joey or Kevin?
I'm glad we jumped to this battle because Bickle, Trickle, that's an announcer's nightmare. The director's being kind of.
Growing up in Wisconsin, it was easy to say because they've always been up front when they raced through the 80s together all over the state of Wisconsin.
True enough. Number 15, Miller, who was so fast earlier, is now in the 6th spot. But looks like he's got it in terms of the ability to run in front of Sawinski right now.
Keep in mind, Joey Miller has not put that car on the bottom side of the racetrack. I mentioned the gearing earlier could play out where Joey Miller has determined, okay, guys, choose our lane. We're going to choose the high side. His crew chief is Joey Clanton's champion crew chief a year ago, Bon Suss. This team was able to win the pit stop competition last night with a whole lot of momentum.
Oh, and 42, Bickle, as we were talking about him, something happened. And look at he actually, as we caught it, was backing in with the right rear corner, but a lot of damage to the left rear corner. So something happened before we picked him up, at least in that shot. He's rolling pretty well, but he's got some, I think that suspension has collapsed.
The left front even looks low as well. He might have had some suspension failures. The TracksideCharities.com, number 42. Bickle working with Chad Wood this season at a limited run. The Wilson Oil Company coming on board as well. And there he gets together with Ed Brown, it appeared. Both left side tires inflated, and from the impact, it looked like it might have just knocked the car off kilter there.
You could just see it.
Ronnie
It settled. There's the hit.
Oh, yeah, certainly contact there. Ronnie
Now
Hall,
watch
the
when
lap
he
car.
bounces right there. Boom. It collapses and breaks. Let's go down to Bob Dillner.
Well, the sign 1-1, number 42 for Rich Bickle is on pit road, and some severe left rear damage. The team is pulling off the left rear tire right now, but some major components broken in the rear end of that machine. Some sheet metal damage on the back end of it as well. But Rich Bickle was looking for a good run here today. Obviously won't have that because he's on pit road and a couple laps down.
Yeah, and this looks like a long repair. And I tell you, I think some of the damage was done when Brown got into him, and then whatever was damaged was finally broken when he backed her into the wall, the way that suddenly just collapsed and settled. So I tell you, I love that shot. The bull ring, that describes what this is all about. Look at that crowd.
For the second time, and they're sitting in the aisles. The white paint is supposed to be where he's supposed to be able to walk, and they're getting every seat filled up here at Elko Speedway. But looking at how that happened, again, a lap car in the very bottom caused a bottleneck going into turn 1 here at Elko.
And here is Kevin Sawinski. He, too, was one of the drivers we talked to, and it was an interesting question because when you talk to a former champion and you ask him, who's your hero? Well, here's what he said.
I'd say Dick Trickle. I grew up watching Dick Trickle on the short tracks in Wisconsin, and then getting to race against him here in ASA has just been a dream.
Welcome back, everybody. We want to remind you that you want to be taking a look at some more information on the best in NASCAR racing, and of course that is Inside Winston Cup. That's tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Speed. Let's quickly get down to Bob Dillner, who's in Rich Bickle's pit.
That's right, and this is one of the reasons why Rich Bickle is out, a broken left rear shock, and that's why that car came down on the left side. We're going to throw that away and actually try to talk to Rich. What happened out there?
Plus, you know, it's unfortunate. I think some guys in this series need to go back and race hobby stocks because that's twice that, you know, we're passing lap cars and, you know, they run us up in the car, that 60 car. I mean, I was totally past them, driving in the corner, and he jumps in there 3 wides and dumps me. But it's very frustrating because I had a really fast car here, and I come to the back again, and I shouldn't say a whole lot, but some guys just deserve to go back home and run hobby stocks. That's enough.
And, of course, the car he's talking about, the number 60, Ed Brown.
Well, he certainly is wearing it right on his sleeve there, but understandably so. He was pretty quick and was working the outside nicely. Let's go down real quick to Rob Albright with an update.
Well, let me show you something here, guys. Brian Repner came in for fuel this time. What we're looking at is a chart showing the gallons used per lap, the total fuel that has been used, the amount still remaining in the car, and miles per gallon. This is not actually, Brian, you can't see his, it's not very visible. He's actually getting 7.4 miles per gallon, and his dad, Tom Repner, says he might have now enough fuel to go the rest of the way. He's got 2 of his 3 mandatory stops already under his belt, guys.
And if you have Tom Repner telling you what's going on, he knows. Tom Repner is certainly a Dick Trickle equivalent in the 70s, winning as many features as 70 a given season, racing against Trickle back in Wisconsin and Minnesota.
Situation there that we were talking about for Repner, one of the interesting things, early in the race he found himself with a box full of lemons, and what you have to do in that situation is try and make lemonade, try and convert it into something that might actually be a bit of a plus. And it looked like Travis Kittleson just sitting back, that's changed a little bit. He is now glommed right onto the back of Joey Clanton, and number 63 Pyle has moved up to 3rd. Wimmer slips back to 4th, and Reed Sorensen sits there in 5th. And right now, Travis, at least he's trying to do a little sight work, show the nose, get down low and everything. I don't think they're going to sight Joey Clanton out too much, but Travis is certainly playing the game.
Robbie Pyle's giving us a great view of this battle here, this 30 and the 71 just ahead. The black 30 car is the Bobsville Chevrolet of Travis Kittleson. In search of 5 extra points for leading a lap. He's currently 2nd now behind Joey Clanton.
And Bob Dillner, one of the fastest guys certainly on this entire circuit, is sitting in 3rd. And what's his strategy?
Well, Robbie Pyle is very confident after last week's win. He felt he got the monkey off his back, but I heard you guys mention that Brian Refner thinks maybe he can go the entire way on fuel from here on out. Well, Robbie's crew chief, Bill McGowan, doubts that. He says the pit window for fuel is in between 120 and 280, and he thinks this is going to go more than just the mandatory 3 stops here. He thinks it could be a 4-stop race.
Well, with the way they're going to be tearing up the tires in this heat, you'd think that's possible. Now, we're going to give you speeds at the line, which tells you who's getting out of 4 particularly well on that on the average lap. But you can see it's pretty much an equal throw here. Clanton a little bit quicker, but look at Wimmer, 94.2 as well, 94.1 by Sawinski. So these guys are all running very fast up front.
And Greg Stewart back in 12th had the 3rd fastest lap that time through. As these cars get single file, he could be even faster than the leaders at a given point. But on this tight bull ring, it's going to be harder to pass, and that's where the pit strategy may come in huge here this afternoon.
And Rob Albright, we're looking at Reed Sorensen, and he's starting to draw into that battle for 4th.
Reed started in the 5th spot, still running in the 5th position. Just talked to his crew chief, his dad, Brad. Brad gave him the same admonition that Gary Crooks gave fellow rookie Travis Kittleson. He said, Reed, just run your race, stay patient, stay out of trouble, get past lap 100, and then let's get some tires on this thing. But he said the car is absolutely perfect, guys.
Well, and you know these young rookies want to go for the win, but for Sorensen, if he can keep, even if it's a matter of just having a couple of cars between he and Kittleson either way, he's going to be looking pretty strong in terms of that Rookie of the Year championship. And right now, that's the focus. Obviously, you like wins, but you're checking that one out as well. On board with Robbie Powell. Behind him is Wimmer, and right behind him is Reed Sorensen, right there, number 29, the remarkable young rookie. 2 poles already this year, and a number of very fine runs. Being a rookie, there's lots of heroes in ASA you could look to. Who are Reed's?
I'd probably have to say Butch Miller, mainly because he's one of the best out here as far as a driver, and I can learn from him every week. And you can expect him to be up front and follow what he's doing, and you'll be fast too.
Welcome back to the Grease Lightning Orange Blast 400, 14th round of ASA's 17-round National Championship Series, and we are now into it. Just a little over 100 laps, but it's been an interesting moment or two as the race unfolded. First, the start, and right from the outside, Joey Clanton went into the lead, and he hung on to it for a while, Jim.
Certainly did, and then lap 29, we had some incidents here. It looks like Toby Porter getting around with the 42 of Rich Bickle. They both were able to continue on, and there again, bumping and banging, what we'll see all day long here. There is another look at Toby Porter going around. He's back in 16th back on the racetrack.
And there you see a couple of the other moments that was involved in that. Refner caught out in that as well. Travis Kittleson having a great race. Beautiful move here. Moves up and around, picks up the 2nd spot. And that was the margin he had. But watch what happened here. Travis coming out, giving the little chrome horn to 71. Joey Clanton letting him know that there's one quick rookie right behind you, pal. And Clanton responded by doing what you see now. He's opened it up just a little bit. But Jim, really for the first time this race now, we are working some very serious traffic here.
And really, it's a matter, as Dick Trickle would say, nutrition. They got to keep the car on the racetrack, got to keep the fenders on it. So at this point, it's riding mode. If there's an attrition right here, we won't see as much traffic. But again, it'll come down to where do the lap cars end up being in the way of the fast guys. And Joey Clanton right now is setting a blistering pace. If he can keep this up, he might get a lot of good cars a lap down, too, between these caution segments in a long period of green.
You know, two of our hero questions to break, they both mentioned Dick Trickle, and they not only really given accolades to his abilities on the track, but to his passionate support of his sponsors' products.
Let's see, Coors Brewing Company, Pabst Brewing Company, Miller Brewing Company. They have one thing in common. What Dick likes to drink when he's not at the racetrack.
You know that. Let's head down to Rob Dillner, who's in Butch Miller's pit.
Dion Deneau, you started 6th, drifted back to 12. Patience is one thing, but you can't be happy with what's going on right now.
Well, yesterday we tried to make some decisions on what the track would do. The car was a little free on us yesterday. We tightened it up this morning. The track's obviously gone the other way. Car's really tight. Timberwolf guys are just going to have to make some adjustments on the pit stop, try to get it back up front.
Dion Deneau and Butch Miller, guys, obviously wanting a caution and wanting it soon.
Thanks, Rob Albright. I got to mess that throw up just a little bit. Meanwhile,
we see the Lester Buildings Ford of the 36 car, Tim Sauter, going a lap down out of Butch Miller. So one of the former champs of the field having a struggle there in the 36, Tim Sauter. Now, unfortunately, a little bit off today.
Now, this is a great story. This is Scott Lagasse Jr. and Bob Dillner. He's only been here. Oh, we have an incident, and Trickle's involved. A couple other cars down there as well.
Ed Brown in the 60 car. Man, and Peter Cozzolino as well.
And, of course, the number 99 of Trickle, and he gets it moving again, but he's got some damage, although it doesn't look like it's particularly deep into that car, so you may be able to, I don't know if he'll be able to tape that down, maybe rip off that hood and get him back out there again. But seriously unfortunate development for Dick Trickle at Citizens Independent Bank and Auto Truck Service Chevy.
What a rough break for Trickle again. Comes back once a year. He actually worked at Marshfield Speedway with car owner and crew chief Kevin Lang to get this car dialed in, so he's certainly putting forth the effort to get this ASA car ready because he does IROC testing and has some Winston Cup testing in his schedule. So a lot different race car, different race track altogether, and he's certainly putting forth a great effort. Unfortunately, he has damage now. Probably peel the hood off, maybe some body panels, and that'll make a different race for Trickle and his one-off here in ASA this year.
And right now we have Kittleson anxiously looking to get down into pit lane, it appears, along with the 63 of Robbie Pyle and a host of others. And let's see, Clanton going to make the move as well. You see the green flag, pits are open, and it looks like that whole group of leaders, Jim, going to bring them down and in. We ride on board with Robbie Pyle sitting in third as they make that tight left into the infield portion of the track and down pit lane. And this is going to be crucial. This is going to be huge. There you go, top three on the left. And that's the pit out exit right there, and that white line right behind the orange outfit. That's the key. Let's get down to the pits.
Mike Garvey came in. He made a 2-tire stop and a little air pressure adjustment, but they are still struggling with that car with a very loose condition. Rob?
They had trouble getting the jack underneath the Joey Clanton machine. Chad Orr, crew chief, is the jack man he was last year. The left side tires are on left sides, guys. That's a little bit of a surprise, but this put together pit crew struggled, and he'll lose several positions on pit road.
And look at him queuing up, trying to get that nose just in front of somebody else at that white line. And Joey Miller, or is that Garvey actually, kind of leapfrogged around a couple of people. I think the timing and scoring folks are going to be busy on the radio. Look at Clanton and look at Sorensen saying, well, if you're going to go around, I'm going around. This is like an interesting chess match out there right now, but with a few hundred horsepower under the hood. So this is pretty tough as well.
3,000-pound chess pieces, though. You don't want to mess up right now, especially under caution, to figure out who goes where.
Exactly. Well, we're back on board with Toby Porter, the GoGo Motorsports team. And remember, we've sort of been documenting their travels between races. Well, we pick up now with Jim when they got back to the shop.
After unloading and scaling the car on Monday, the real work began for the crew on Tuesday in preparing the very same race car for the race this weekend at Elko Speedway.
First thing on Monday, of course, you get everything unloaded. Get the car, we get the car up on the scales again and rescale the car, take all the measurements, all the heights, everything. Record that all so we have, it goes together with the paperwork that we had from the practice sessions and also before the car left to go to the track. So that's all gets combined, put together. We kind of look and see if changes we made at the racetrack correspond to the readings we're getting when we get back to the shop here and rescale the car. This week, we're going to be running the same car as what we did at the last race. So we go through that. A lot of times we'll switch to a different car depending on the racetrack, the banking, whatever we plan on doing that way. But for the fact that we have 2 third-mile racetracks in a row here, we're going to go to work and run the same car, especially since that car ran pretty well this last weekend.
All right, great story there, but a big development down in the pits, Rob.
Well, you can see Chad Orr is very hot. He is arguing with an ASA official. Joey Clanton was just back on pit road for a second time, a stop-and-go penalty. Here's the rule this season in ASA, guys. You must drop down to indicate your intention of coming on pit road at a specified place on the racetrack. Joey did not do that. Therefore, he was assessed a stop-and-go penalty. Joey thought that place where you had to drop down was in turn number 2. The car of Dick Trickle still sat on the racetrack. Joey moved up the track to avoid the machine of Trickle and had a stop-and-go penalty assessed. So, I don't know that you can give the guy his place back, track positions, everything. He'll really have to work at it now, guys.
Oh, without doubt. You can see the argument, but we're going to go back now. This is a real-time look at what happened in the pit stop. Remember, there appeared to be a little bit of a problem there. It looks like the jackman couldn't quite get the jack underneath the jack point.
Chad Orr is the jackman and the crew chief trying to get under. Now, a number of these guys are wearing the uniforms of a year ago at the championship. Joey Clanton brought in some of his friends from the crew. Chad Orr we see there. Mark Ashcraft on the rears. Jody Wilkerson as well, doing some pit stop work that they worked on the team full-time a year ago, coming back to rally around Joey Clanton and his brother Rusty in this effort. But you mentioned that he could not He was supposed to double up at the start-finish line, not in turn 2 where the pace car picked him up. So that was the battle of why he came down twice.
That's exactly right. As we're showing you the top 10 here, as he was getting ready to come in, Kittleson was underneath him, and that puts him on the outside, thus the problem. Welcome back, everybody. The Grease Lightning Orange Blast 400, and there is your leader after the pit exchange, Kevin Sawinski, and Bob Milner is standing by with his crew chief. And these guys, Bob, no strategy.
Well, Kevin Sawinski is the only guy that has not pitted just yet. Mike Chaffee, why didn't you stop with the others?
Well, actually, the car wasn't terrible, and it had gone from a tight condition to a loose condition in that last run, so I didn't really want to waste an adjustment, not knowing for sure if it was the racetrack or what the deal was, so figured we'd stay out there and ride.
Simply said, that Orange Blast #1 right now is a rocket ship.
Well, that's an amazing story that they've had. Here we go to second. You can see a lap car between the leader and the 06 Davin Seitz, who's the miracle man in terms of coming through the pack up into the front. And Rob Albright, he's well poised to maybe do it again.
He's done a great job, guys. He came from deep in the pack, as you mentioned. He's already stopped twice. The first stop, put in a spring rubber and added a splash of gas. The second stop, it was a wedge adjustment for 06, so he still needs some tires, but he's got this machine really cooking, guys.
He's also got company because the guy that's in front of him is down a lap, Rich Locke, and now he's going to be able to get by, but Rick's running pretty quickly and not making it terribly easy, and behind him and coming hard is Refner at 15, Joey Miller, and the number 7 right there, the orange car of Gary St. Amant, the 2-time champion in this series.
St. Amant has a teammate this race. His crew chief is now his co-driver in this team, owned by Bob Harshberger of Tennessee. Scott Hansen's behind the wheel. His 23 car's a couple laps down. They slapped the familiar number 7 on Gary St. Amant's Medicine Shop Chevy, and he's got a lot to prove. He needs to finish good here today. They're really building on these last 4 races to build something for 2004. They've had a horrific season overall, Gary specifically as a driver.
Well, and that kind of success late in the season, Bob Dillner, as you well know, can propel you for the next year. He needs a good run.
And Gary St. Amant had a heck of a late in the season run last year. Right now, he is just riding that car. He says it's pretty good, but Gary called me this week and said, man, Bob, this year has been absolutely miserable. He knows, like you pointed out, he needs a good end of the season to lock in a ride with that team or maybe another team for next year. So Gary St. Amant looking for a good run. And you know what, Jim? You know as well as I do that that guy paces himself the entire race and waits to attack until the end.
Indeed, and it's a matter of staying in contention at this point. Gary St. Amant, by not electing to pit, I don't believe he's pitted either, as well as Sawinski. Staying in the top 5 is important because then the strategy plays through. Sawinski and St. Amant, who have raced so many times lap by lap, side by side for leads and wins here in ASA, look to be back in form today.
And we've been watching 2 phenomenal battles. The 15 of Miller and the 80 of Refner have been side by side, as have the 30 of Kittleson and the 17 of Mike Garvey. And they've been swapping it back. Now, Travis Kittleson and that Bob Steele Chevrolet, Chevy gets a little bit of a break as he gets by Rich Locke. But I tell you, Locke's speed is just frustratingly quick enough to not make it easy as he's back at 27 for guys to get by him.
Rich Locke spent 16 laps in the pits. They had a major problem. The hood was up for quite some time on that white number 24 car on the inside here. But as they get back going, Locke again has experience all over the state of Wisconsin, making his second ASA start here. We may see more of this youngster out of Muskego, Wisconsin for the remainder of the season and potentially all of next year.
Yeah, well, he's certainly shown some speed. A good look there. 7th is number 17, Mike Garvey, in that Janikin Chevy. Behind him, 29, Sorensen. And that youngster continues to show awfully strong in that AC-Delco and Bennett Lumber Chevrolet. And then, of course, right behind them is the guy we're on board with, the Citgo MBA Chevy of Robbie Pyle. There they are. And that is your battle for 7th. And coming up and joining them, once he gets around Locke, will be the 33 of Greg Stewart, another driver who's shown some tremendous speed this year, but just hasn't been able to convert it. And look at this, Davin Seitz now all over the back of Sawinski as they get by the lapped and slightly damaged car of Cozzolino. It's got to be frustrating for Peter. And now we hop on board and looking back to the number 1 of Sawinski. You see they too have picked up a little extra sponsorship from Orange Blast this weekend.
And they'll be on the car for the remainder of the year. Orange Blast Clean is sponsoring the series once again and sponsoring Kevin Sawinski and young Scotty Lagacy for the remaining events that he's going to be competing here in Nashville. But Sawinski on a roll, gets a sponsor late in the season. Sounds like it happened in 1997. It did with Tecumseh. They came on for the second half and rode the championship. Grease Lightning Orange Blast Cleaners hoping to do the same. Now right behind is Davin Seitz in that silver 06. I talked to him during the on-track autograph session. Davin said, you know what, I can't qualify for Beans, but we have such a good race car. Last couple races, he said the obvious to me. We've had a car capable of running top 5. The circumstances haven't been right. Right now he's showing again the mustard out of West Virginia. This guy is no fluke by winning a concourse. He's in contention again today in this very tight Minnesota oval.
Well, for some people, that single car qualifying style, it just doesn't work well, and especially if you like your car set up so that it's quicker later in a long run, qualifying is going to be tough because you can't touch the car afterward, and it just makes it a little bit more difficult qualifying. Meanwhile, starting to reel them in as he's broken clear of the number 80 of Repner as the 30 of Kittleson has jumped to 4th and is coming after Joey Miller, the number 15, who sits 3rd. Boy, talk about going after somebody. Look at Seitz. Normally we see Seitz on the outside, and that time he just motored by Sawinski and did it on the inside.
Kevin Sawinski always in thought of the entire picture. Is it the prize today, or is it the crown at the end of the season? If Seitz wanted it that bad, Sawinski got those 5 points, and we'll see if he's able to maintain his speed here as he's now letting Joey Miller to the inside. The Great Clip Chevy get back in position as well.
Well, I think that's a very good point that you brought up, is the fact that, you know, I mean, Mike Garvey and others will tell you just how intense a racer Davin Seitz is, and I think Sawinski looked up and said, yep, we'll let him slide right on through. Meanwhile, Joey Miller's feeling some pressure, Rob.
Bonsus, nobody's really questioned Joey's talent. We question maybe his patience. You got him running really well. Just went by his teammate. What's he telling you?
Just to be calm and cool. The car's really good for him, and he's really come a long way this year. So he's doing an awesome job. You know, we got heavy hearts here today. Crew member of ours, 16-year-old Clifford, his mom passed away of the battle of cancer, and our prayers are with Pat and Clifford at home today.
Talk about a team racing for a cause. These guys are doing it today and doing it quite well, gentlemen.
There's no question of that, and I'll tell you what, this is one dedicated group, and Joey Miller, there's never been, as Rob started that off with, any doubt about his raw speed.
And he's at his home track, and it's a home track for Bonsus as well. He grew up just down the road, worked with Lefebvre Racing, which now is Country Joe Racing, so it's important for Bonsus to do well as much as it is for the driver, Joey Miller.
Miller trying to take a run with Davin Seitz, and there now, cracking the top 10, the number 33 body balance Chevy of Greg Stewart. And he too was one of the drivers we visited with a little bit earlier. He's been around for a while, but he's also seen some of the great ones. Who's his ASA hero?
Jimmy Johnson. We were rookies back in '98, had a lot of fun together. He actually came down to Forks, North Carolina with me one weekend, and I showed him a really good time. So, yeah, Jimmy Johnson.
Welcome back, everybody, and Kevin Sawinski just ducked into the pits, and Bob Dillner was on hand with the call. Here's what happened.
Kevin Sawinski has not pitted until now. Jason Miner, Mike Reesoff, Kurt Danko, and the boys go to work on the right side of the car. This will be a tire stop for them. A good, quick pit stop so far on the right side. A little trouble on the right front, but he is away.
And that happened just a couple moments ago, and the interesting thing about that is the fact that it happened on 167 and they didn't go for fuel. So once again, Mike Chaffee and Kevin Sawinski on the radios plotting some pretty interesting strategies down there, and we'll see how that plays out. Meanwhile, here once again is Toby Porter, and Erie to Elko Part 3 coming up. This is as they're prepping to make their way back up north.
After a week of hard work, all that was left was loading up the team's hauler.
It's usually 2 or 3 of us. Toby will be in here. He'll be coming in on Thursday, and we'll here again sit down, spend some time working on the setup and so on. And then once everything's done, probably Friday afternoon, we'll get the truck loaded and be ready to go. Basically, we'll get out of here early in the morning, and should be a nice ride up to the Twin Cities. You know, I don't think there'll be a whole lot of road construction and so on. Don't have to drive through Chicago, thank goodness for that. And we should get there in plenty of time.
Well, as we're going to find out just a little bit later on, it wasn't quite as simple as they expected. We're back to live coverage, and right there you see your leader, the 06 of Seitz. And we've been updating you on what's going on with some of our past champions. Well, right there, right behind Seitz, you see the 95 champion, excuse me, Brian Repner, who finds himself nicely up in that top 5. A little bit further back, 10th spot, is 3-time champ Butch Miller, the number 52 Timberwolf Chevrolet. So it's kind of been a casual day for him. Back in 14th, 2-time champion Gary St. Amant. the Medicine Shop Chevy, and he's sort of been just sitting a little bit, and I think they're just kind of working that car a little bit, trying to find out what they have. So that's Gary's position right now, and let's get right down to Rob Albright.
Well, Travis Kittleson's shot at a rookie championship may have just gone up in smoke. Literally, came on pit road, took fuel only, but on trying to exit pit road, the rear wheel suddenly just spun without locking up. Now, I don't know whether he's got a transmission problem, rear gear problem. Gary Crooks, you can see the crew chief actually working on the left rear corner of this automobile. Looks like Travis Kittleson's going to be on pit road for a long time. And guys, as soon as we have the problem diagnosed, we'll get back with you. Guys?
All right, thanks, Rob. And indeed, just the most terrible news. Look at that. The crew chief is shaking his head right there. And this is the crews are the guys that make this happen so often in success. And they had a bit of a pit stop competition here earlier in the weekend. Here's what
the
happened.
over-the-wall guys are an integral part of any race team at the Impact Racing National Pit Stop Competition presented by BF Goodrich and SK Tools. The action was fast and furious. In the end, it came down to a 3-team tussle among the 10 finalists. The number 11 Meyer team completed their 2-tire stop in 12.94 seconds. Next up, the number 63 Citgo team was even faster, dropping the car in 12.12 seconds, even with a slight bobble in the right rear. But when the last jack dropped, it was Bon Suss and the number 15 team turning in the only sub-12 time of the night and earning the lion's share of more than $20,000 in prize money. Bond, if Broadway calls looking for a choreographer, you're going to be the guy. Describe that stop.
Well, it's pretty nerve-wracking going last there. I mean, you got to watch all them guys go through. One of our benefits yesterday probably was going first or going like second. So the guys did an awesome job. They work for it. They deserve it. They come down every week and practice, and it's a good deal for them.
And really, that explains what it's all about. There's the competition. Look at the total posted awards, Jim.
And they took home over $9,200 alone as the winning team. Toolboxes, Impact Racing gear. I mean, these guys really put their heart and soul into it. And all the top 10 guys really had a great stop. They had a runoff, actually. 20 teams were involved at the mall just the other night to break it down to 10. So last night it was pretty intense. These guys certainly want to perform well here today. Now, keep in mind that they got paid a lot of money for that short little pit stop. Well, Joey Miller came in the pits as the first guy to come down pit road. Mike Garvey and Reed Sorensen's team beat him out on pit road, depending on what they did. So these teams are fired up to beat Joey Miller because he got the prize last night.
Well, we've got an update now from Rob on the number 30 of Travis Kittelson.
Yeah, let me show you guys what's going on here. It is the left rear axle on the number 30 car. You can see this is the way the axle should look with teeth on both ends of it. You can see they're completely stripped off. This end is broken off of the axle. That's the problem for Travis Kittelson. Very quick job of replacing it, but he's now several laps down.
Yeah, to do a job as deep into the back end of the car as that and only lose 3 laps, once again, really shows you what these crews are all about and how it's the crews that keep these guys in the hunt. We've seen that a few times. We talked about it early in the season with Kevin Sawinski. When he did have the odd problem, that crew managed to leapfrog him right back up again. And here's the number 15 to Joey Miller, checking with Bob Dillner.
Well, Greg, as we're about to go green, just some quick food for thought. Joey Miller is the best of the bunch of the guys that have already pitted twice, and Bon Suss tells me only one more stop or two here today at Elko.
Well, that strategy's starting to play out. We are back at it here at completing lap 177. Lots of racing to go. Garvey, big wiggle, and then Miller followed him out as he went to the throttle. The back end stepped out, and that's allowed Sorensen to take a run and taking it sideways. Gavin Seitz looking like Steve Kinzer at Knoxville. Back end out, doing it again. And that's Refner. He got it crossed up as he went around the outside of him. These two guys, I mean, literally, not figuratively, letting it hang out right now in this battle for the lead.
And it is a matter of pride, and these two drivers did not come down pit road under that last caution, so certainly they want to break away and get single file to get ahead of the guys that may have fresh right side tires.
That was unbelievable. Sight save, first of all, and then seeing Refner going around the outside, doing it again. Ooh, maybe a little bit of a lean there. Sight's trying to match up the marks on the right side of Refner's car, give him a couple on the left. And they are at it side by side once again. And this 14-degree banking really does allow you to spend some time side by side here. And Refner right now Now gets done a little bit, floats out a little high, and here comes Seitz right down underneath.
You know, as harsh as the winters are here in Minnesota, this track was paved just 3 years ago, and it's holding up beautifully here today. We obviously see 2.5 grooves of racing, and this late in the event with the tires maybe getting a bit greasy, we're showing the true muster of these BFG Traction TA radial tires for these short track cars. They've been able to last a long period of time. This is the medium compound. Last year they ran the harder tire compound, which lasted almost the entire race, but now we see the question marks are being answered. These tires are holding up well.
Was that a Minnesota-Wisconsin slam?
No.
Veiled as a
Tell me about it.
commentary?
20 degrees below zero. People have not even felt that in their freezers or deep freeze out in the garage. That's what they live with as air temperatures here on a weekly basis in January in Minnesota.
So it was a dig. Okay, Seitz continues to lead Repner, but Sorensen is the guy that's coming on now, and he's really up the ante a little bit. And boy, that car looks like it's absolutely on rails, tight to the inside. That's turning and doing exactly what he wants it to, anywhere he wants it to.
And watching Reed Sorensen in the Port City Chevy here work to the inside of Brian Repner. He worked to the outside of Mike Garvey on the restart. This kid is flying. Now, Reed Sorensen already knows Travis Kittleson's 10 pounds. It leads him in the points in the rookie efforts, but this team so bad wants a win. They want to win for Harley Bovey in Port City. They want to win as a team before their rookie season may come to a close. Looks like they may have a better chance now with Travis Kittleson's problems of locking it up sooner than year end.
Well, I was going to say, with Kittleson now some 3 laps back, that does take the pressure off of Reed a little bit in terms of just thinking about that Rookie of the Year championship. Now maybe he can be a little bit more aggressive. You don't want to throw your margin away, but now he can go after it a little bit, and if he uses up the tires of the car a little too much, slips to 5th or so, he's still going to be fine, so why not go after it? And late in the season, as you said, when if you end the season with a win those last few races, that's what people tend to remember. And here's Brian Repner, and let's check in with Rob.
Former champ Brian Repner has 4 consecutive 6th-place finishes. Crew Chief Walter Giles, the way he's running now after that early spin, looks like he has no intention of finishing that far back today.
Yeah, we're a different strategy to the other guys, Rob. We started so far back, we got our first 2 stops out of the way early. Now we're on the same strategy as the leaders. 1 more stop. We're feeling pretty good about the car.
What will you do on that final stop, Walter?
We'll take right sides.
And then he'll be good to go to the finish, guys.
All right, thanks very much. And he's not from Fargo, is he?
No, he's not from here. He's actually worked with Brian a little bit in a truck testing situation, and they really clicked, and it's a matter of Brian wanting to get the team assembled. Mentioned they're based here in Wisconsin, or back next state over in Wisconsin, back in Stevens Point where he's from. So he's got a lot of guys that were with him in '95 and through his short track days, and Walter Giles just on a couple of test sessions made an impression. Brian Repner brought him here to ASA.
He has some Oscar experience.
Well, he's right. They started 21st on the day. Yeah. That changes your whole mind process. Gavin Seitz started 20th. He came in and did 2 pit stops early to gain that track position. But right now, Kim Atkins and the boys in the 06 pit certainly have something working here. He's the fastest car on the track right now.
He is hooked up without a doubt. And the interesting thing about Zawinski, and I mentioned that pit stop at 167, at that stage, you would have thought that they maybe were going to be worried a little bit about fuel, but at that point, 167 laps, the tires that had to be gone, you have to make that stop and then think about fuel maybe the next time by. It's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. He's back in 7th right now, and Seitz is running strong, and we have in the 2nd spot is Sorensen, and right now we're watching Gavin Seitz, and it's that, Bob Dillner, it's that tires fuel game.
It certainly is a game here today in Elko, but I heard you guys mention the BFGs. It's an awesome tire, and they brought another good one here to Elko. But a lot of these crew chiefs are telling me as the race progresses and as the second crew works in, as we're seeing a lot of side-by-side battle, the tires are going to wear more, so we just may see an extra pit stop here. Something to watch for in the latter stages of this race.
Well, Bob, the way Gavin Seitz is driving this thing, that back end, he has got it on the hammer sideways a lot of the way around his track, and that's going to be chewing some stuff up. But this is relatively high banked at 14 degrees, and oftentimes the problem at that high level of banking can be the left side tires because it's so aggressive. And Seitz a wiggle again, but as he comes out of the turn, there they are, the cross flag. He wins the BF Goodrich Tires Halfway Leader Award. Congratulations, Gavin Seitz, for John Michael Montgomery Chevrolet. He is what we call that fast loose is what he's doing right now. And Gavin Seitz, I think, is having a great time out there. He's almost opened up a 2nd lead on the number 29 of Reed Sorensen, his fellow rookie. We're going to show you the top 10 as we step away from Elko, Minnesota. Welcome back, everybody. We want to remind you again, don't forget to watch Wind Tunnel coming up tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Talk about some great guests. How about two-time Winston Cup champion yesterday, Southern 500 winner Terry Labonte, and AMA Motorcycles standout Curtis Roberts. They'll both be joining Dave in the studio. That's Wind Tunnel tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And we've had some pretty serious action unfolding on the track here. Some of it's right here as 15 Miller teammate Sawinski. The two of them have been side by each for a while here, and it's been some pretty close competition. This time Miller seems to come by and make the pass, but they had a bit of a moment earlier here, and Miller may have got the worst of it.
Right here, going into turn number 1. Boom! There gets a little tap from Joey Miller, sends Kevin up the racetrack, and Glenn Allen Jr. is now back in the hunt.
Now we also have a new leader that has evolved, and you can see the number 29 is Sorensen, and here's how that happened. And it was traffic played a key role there.
On the bottom in turn number 3, here's Scott Hansen, number 23 cars. They went to by the front straightaway. Reed Sorensen, the blue 29, thought about maybe going 3 wide. Davin Seitz, the race leader, the silver car on the outside, held Reed behind him, used Hansen as a pickup sorts, but check out this move. Reed Sorensen said, you know what, I'm moving up, I'm moving over. He went 3 wide in the corner. What this cost Davin Seitz was the lead in a lot more because he got up in this gray area, and he also dropped back a bit.
And you'd have to maybe, at first glance, think, Bob Dillner, that maybe Davin Seitz picked up a lot of junk on his tires. Any updates?
Actually, that's not the case, Greg. This team has been arguing what their next pit stop was going to be, tires or fuel. Well, I think it's been answered. It needs to be tires because they are completely out of tires, and that car is very, very loose. In fact, Davin is about to go a lap down to Reed Sorensen in maybe 2 or 3 laps. Kim Atkins is just waiting for a caution right now to bring that 06 car down pit road, and I think they got it.
Oh boy, timing everything. The 66 of Boris Yurkovich is certainly involved, and he's going to continue on, but talk about fortuitous timing. And you're right, Bob, from up here, watching what was going on with Davin Seitz in those last few laps, like I said, the back end of that car was absolutely crossed up, and well, there's an interesting groove.
Well, that actually was, I believe, maybe holding down one of the sponsor banners in the infield grass. And you can see by the dirt on the racetrack that the car went through the grass, and Boris Yurkovich came back up on the racetrack. Yurkovich, again, running for Rookie of the Year, having some troubles here. He gets sideways. Paul Payne in the 94 may have had some help in sending Boris through the dirt, but as he came back out on the racetrack, way too much dirt and debris on the tires, he spun it out. Took a sign with him as well. So again, down the front stretch, you don't really spin out a whole lot by yourself. So maybe he and Paul Payne were doing too close of a battle on the front stretch.
He had a little bit of hang time when he hit that curve, too. He got airborne, floated her a little bit, came back down that reliable recovery machine. It looks like he's doing, it's at least going around. Now, here we go with this yellow, coming up just past the halfway mark. And we've got a slew of them coming in once again, including your leader, Reed Sorensen. And he's leading the queue right down into pit lane. There's Pyle, there's Refner as well, and Joey Clanton. Let's go downstairs to Rob Albright.
It's been a flawless afternoon for rookie Reed Sorensen. He's done everything this season except win. It's right side tires at just past the halfway mark. This is, guys, his 3rd stop. Theoretically, he makes this when he's done and will be good to go to the finish. Now, a couple of guys have already gone by, but Reed is underway. It looks like he'll rejoin this race probably in about the 4th position.
All right, no, we got a traffic jam down there. 15, Joey Miller caught out as the 06 of Seitz came in, and he had to angle in tightly, and Miller actually had to get pushed back and then moved a little bit, and that means they're going to have to push Seitz backward. And Davin Seitz obviously got the pit stop he needed, but the pit stop itself not going all that swimmingly.
No, and the pits again are on the curve on the inside of turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 for that matter. So as he got that scrapvinyl.com Chevy back in, boy, a weird angle to come in and out, and he lost a lot of track time, but he did not lose that lap, getting fresh rubber when he needed it.
We're hearing that there may be a stop and go or a drive-through for number 29 Sorensen for some sort of pit violation. Let's see if we can see anything here. Here comes that Seitz. Ooh, boom. They got into it. Miller just tapped him, and really, you know, what can you do there? You're getting waved out. Nobody expected Seitz maybe to come in like that, and they club pretty good. You got to wonder about that now, that left rear corner of Seitz car.
And obviously by them putting together great effort in winning the pit stop contest last night, this team has really worked on their pit stops. That jack goes down. Joey Miller's job is to get out of that pit stall. Now it's also the job of the crew chief or the spotter to say 1 on the outside, even on pit road, so he can get out of clear.
And here's the number 53 of Glenn Allen Jr., who's been up, almost knocking on the top 5, having a good day. He's one of the veterans in the circuit. We asked him as well. Who's an ASA hero for you?
I would say Bob Seneca. As a kid growing up, they used to race at Queen City Speedway there in Cincinnati where I grew up. So as a kid, he was the Bluebird, he was one of my favorites. So Bob Seneca, all the career victories he's done and what he's done to make this sport in ASA what it is.
Beautiful summer afternoon, short track racing ASA style. That means great track food. Elko has it here, and it's pretty high calorie, but boy, is it good.
Mini corn dog bites, my favorite.
Right there.
Yep.
Yeah. Jim Trado knows good chow when he sees it. Here's the 29 of Sorensen, and he had to make a drive-through penalty. Let's check in with Rob Albright.
You know, I just talked to his dad, Brad. Brad is very vehement that he was not guilty of what ASA officials accused him of. They said he dropped down too late. In the drivers' meeting, they're always instructed where that point is at which you must drop down if you intend to come on pit road. Brad is insistent that Reed saw the red flag at the entrance to pit road. He assumed then he could not pit. As soon as he was aware that pit road was open, he dropped down, but that was too late, according to the ASA officials, thus the same type of stop-and-go penalty that caught Joey Clinton earlier. And now over to Bob Dillner.
Well, this is one of the helmets for Davenside's crew members, and you can see it has a big smile on his face, and all these guys have a big smile right now because when they came down pit road, we told you that car was very loose. The reason it was loose is because they had a right rear wheel very loose. It was coming undone on that car, so a big blessing to get that caution for Davensides.
I would think, even though he's back in 14th now after being out front, he's got a car underneath him instead of having it stuffed into a wall. So, boy, timing is everything. And one thing, Jim, we know about Davensides, we have seen it with his win at Concord and other great drives as well. He can come through the pack, and he is just fun to watch race.
Speaking of coming through the pack, there's a couple of guys up front right now, including Glenn Allen Jr., who did not pit that time by, nor did Brian Ruffner, the Menards. Morton Salt Chevy, with Kevin Sawinski's there, but look right behind him, that green number 71. Joey Clanton was docked the penalty for a stop and go earlier, was back in 20th. He came out of the pits back about 17th or 18th in the last exchange. He's passed 12 cars on the racetrack to get in his top 5 position right now, the Terry's Automotive Chevy.
Well, as we go back to green, and he just got down underneath Sawinski like a missile, and you can see there's a big bunch of black paint on the right side of that green number 71. But man, did he get a launch out of that turn, jumps up into third. You don't win a championship in ASA without being fast on a racetrack.
Well, Joey's an aggressive driver, no question about that. He won 9 races last year, and here at Elko came to it very late in the going. He and David Stremme had a classic battle. The rain started to fall slightly, and Joey used his better tire management to win that race. And as he's running around this racetrack, restarts we've seen all race long have been so critical, and Kevin Sawinski right there got a bit of surprise perhaps by Clanton's aggressive move to the inside right at the start-finish line.
Yeah, and then Kevin just drove right back by him about a lap later, and now Joey Clanton coming back by him again. You can see that darkening right there, right in front of the 7, if you will. And now Clanton a little high, and look who's right there. Or excuse me, Sawinski goes high, and here comes Gary St. Amant, and he is in the 5th spot, one of his best runs, and behind him, Todd Cleaver. Talked about Todd earlier. This guy in that 911 machine has really been having some great runs as of late.
The Marshall Metal Chevy right behind Gary St. Amant here has been in contention. He said he had a really good race car, and they've also got the help of Bob Cumbo, who had been a crew chief with Todd Cleaver now. He's helping that team in an advisory role. He was working with J.C. Beatty for the beginning of the season. J.C. not electing to run the full season as of last week, so Bob is out kind of looking around. Todd said he's been a great help. A lot of confidence as to getting another input here from a veteran crew chief has helped Todd Cleaver's efforts here as we now go on board just behind him on Robbie Pyle's MBA 63.
You know, ASA, they're proud of the fact they built champions, and I'd say construction is well underway for Todd Cleaver. He's got Sawinski and Amant right in front of him. And this is, I mean, he's in class right now.
And St. Amant right there ahead of him knows what to do in this race car, but the question mark is, can Gary finish these races? Is he capable of right now? He's in the same car he's been in since he's returned from injury at Mansfield Motorsports Park, but Todd Cleaver right now has the same race car he's pretty much raced all season long, and it's working well right now.
And look at Joey Clanton. He swings wide, trying to get around the outside of Ruffner. 2 other champions here, and they're chasing one of the more successful drivers in this series. Maybe did not win a championship, is Glenn Allen Jr. There's some serious experience and talent in this trio of cars.
Glenn Allen Jr.'s last win here in ASA was in 1995. He went bush racing. Brian Ruffner went truck racing. They finished 2-1 in the points. Glenn Allen Jr. went 4th to 1st in the last race. Brian Ruffner was crowned champion. Mike Eddy dropped to 4th. Glenn Allen was a runner-up in this series when it comes to point chasing. And For a youngster who started at the age of 16 at Queen City Speedway, his home track, Glenn Allen Jr. has certainly done a lot here in ASA with 6 wins and now coming back to a full-time seat in the Ed Hoc Motorsports 53.
And the one thing that's maybe helping him here is the fact, whoop, and there's Rich Locke has gone around and couldn't get it moved quick enough, and we're under caution. And that happens so often, you know. And I know the officials up there, they're waiting, going, come on, if he can get it. Ooh, we got somebody else involved.
Scotty Legacy as well has spun around.
But sometimes, you know, the officials are waiting. Just, you know, if he gets it cleared quick enough, we can keep on going, and then it's stalled, and they're not able to get it started quick enough. And you got to err on the side of caution. And now, we see number 94, Mr. Payne, has some pain for the side of that car there as well. So, number of either separate incidents or a big one together right now. So Payne's going to have to work his way around. That's going to be down on the track. Now, we talked about at the top of the show how Chris Wimmerst, a great effort in getting his first pole, but after a good run early, Rob Albright, he just faded a bit. What's up?
He did, and for very good reason. The bad luck bit again for Scott Wimmer, or rather Chris Wimmer, for the 4th race in a row. He's been running well, but has had a problem. A pinhole-sized hole in the left rear tire brought him in under green. He lost a couple of laps. He's still running at leader's pace, but a couple of laps down, guys. It's not going to come, that first win today.
Oh, that has got to be incredibly frustrating when you know you got a car that can get the job done and you have just one of those fluky deals. Something cut that tire, and that's it.
Well, Scott Wimmer's been helping out on the team. That's Chris's older brother, now running the Busch Series, and they've got some confidence built up in the team.
Check in with Bob.
Well, the Simcoe 63 for Robbie Pyle, running in the top 10 for much of the day, is on pit road. It'll be a 2-tire right side stop. They changed left sides the last time. Crew Chief Bill McGowan says the car's a little loose, hoping this will help.
Well, if they got those lefts done and they got rights done, and we're coming up on 244 laps in the books. Boy, it's going to be interesting. A little over 150 laps if they're done at this stage and going to go to the finish. There's a good look at Scott Legacy with his new Grease Lightning sponsorship. One of the very fast rookies in the program. So we were wondering, who does he think is a hero in American Speed Association?
I'd have to say Ken Schrader. He's runs so many races a year and gets to run all the time, and just so much fun to be around. So definitely Kenny.
Welcome back to Elko, Minnesota. Elko Speedway, host of today's Grease Lightning Orange Blast 400 live on speed. And lights are out on the pace car, and you can see Ed Brown is going to make a quick move down.
Pace car's in. You're ready.
Pace car follows him in, and when we bring him around and throw the green at him, we're going to let you just lay back and enjoy the sounds of speed.
Green, green, green.
Boris Jurkovic went around in turn number 2. It looks like it was one of those high-speed spins, so I'm sure he had help that time as Boris was up high in turn number 2 to bring out a quick caution here.
Well, and I caught just out of the corner of my eye as well while we were enjoying the sounds of speed here in the booth that Clanton 71 tried to get around the outside of 53 Glen Allen, and he ended up losing and going back. This happened a little bit earlier in the day. Clanton leading the green 71. Travis Kittleson, a lot of pressure. Travis finally looked like he had the lead, but this was coming out of the pits, and you can see the pace car. They were arguing who hit that pit outline first. Then, problems for the 71 of Clanton. They came in, did a stop, but they said they didn't drop down to the inline soon enough to get down 2x2. They had to come in and do another pit stop as a penalty, and that allowed this battle to unfold. Davin Seitz went to the lead and then went incredibly loose, and it all started right about here when Reed Sorensen said, you know, I can make this work 3 abreast, and Sorensen moved into the lead.
That's right, when Davin Seitz dropped to the trunk right then and there as he got to the outside line and then had that wheel problem now corrected for the 06 of Seitz.
Here's our race summary thus far. 250 laps complete. We've had 8 leaders, 11 lead changes. Still 18 cars on the lead lap, including one of the champions who'd gone off that lead lap, Tim Sauter. Then 9 cautions and caution laps totaling 73 laps right now. Here's another champion with the number 52, Butch Miller, who's Bob Dillner worked his way back up to 6th.
He has, but that car is just not good today. Dion, what's going on?
Car's still a little tight. You know, the Timberwolf guys, they've been working on it in the pits here. We got it a little better. Butch likes to be a little patient. 400 laps. I don't know if we got anything for the guys up front, but we're just doing our best job. Try to free the car up a little bit, get to the front.
Dion told me that car was very tight yesterday, so they tried to loosen up, just went a little bit too much. Dion Deneau, one of the best crew chiefs in the business, but even at the best, sometimes you make a mistake.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think I call it over-engineering a little bit. You know, you go, well, we're so bad here, let's make a significant change. Then you got a problem. Now, here's number 36, Sauter, and he dropped off the lead lap, but he's been driving extremely well.
And that's 1999 ASA Series champion Tim Sauter. He had his struggles. You mentioned struggles throughout the day. Yesterday, they brought the car to the racetrack that Steve Carlson has had problems with. Tim Sauter found a problem in the suspension, got it corrected, didn't qualify that well, but he's doing great this afternoon, back on that lead lap.
Yeah, he's refused to give it up, but of course, that is one of the characteristics and traits of a true champion. We'll be right back.
Green, go.
Timing is everything. You return with us right as we go back to green, and Glenn Allen Jr. leads it, floats a little high, and Brian Ruppner takes a look down low, and they are now side by side going into turn 3. Glenn Allen Jr. up high in the beautiful white number 53, and Ruppner back in, stepping out. Now they get around Ed Brown in another 3 abreast scenario, and Joey Clanton trying to take advantage of it, trying to squeeze in there. He couldn't quite get it done. Now he does it, and they're 3 abreast once again, and Ruppner leads it. Clanton trying to get underneath. Glenn Allen Jr. and Clanton's there.
But Glenn Allen Jr. has not been able to get that car down, Greg, and as he was trying to use the outer loop to his advantage, it really cost him a lot because of Ruppner's aggression getting around that lap car, put Glenn up just a little bit of buildup on those tires, and he lost second spot now to Joey Clanton, that green Terry's Automotive 71, a car he drove last year to his championship season.
Well, one of the things, too, is a car that after a longer run might work up high when those tires are nice and warm. You get high up, you get forced high early, and there's not a lot of grip there, and it's not working for you. And I think that's what happened to Glenn Allen Jr. But I can't say nothing about what we're seeing out of Todd Cleaver, this former snowcross racer, making the switch to race cars and ASA-style cars at that, and just having a great run, trying to get by Glenn Allen Jr. and ducks to the inside. He may have third, and watch Clanton working the outside for the lead of Ruppner.
Clanton's been able to use any part of the racetrack he wanted. He led over 100 laps early on in the race from the outset, and from the outside starting position of row 1 outside. Now as he works underneath Brian Ruppner's rear bumper here, we'll see where Clanton can be stronger, because now he's going to have to show his hand. Is my car stronger here on the outside, or maybe Ruppner will slip up and let me get back to my familiar inside run?
Well, they're coming up on a big group of traffic up front. Meanwhile, watching on the right side of the screen, 55 Cleaver, 53 Allen as they make that pass. And look at Cleaver as he comes up the inside of Clanton. Now the number 20 there is Legacy. He's fast, but he's down a lap. And he's just, oh, Cleaver! Clanton get together, they get squeezed. And we picked up Miller in that one.
Unreal.
53 Glenn Allen as well. And Clanton is spun up at the top of the screen on the exit of the turn. Oh, and is that damaged? Did he get into the wall a little bit? Nope.
Again, lap traffic on the very bottom of the racetrack. Cleaver said, I need that running room, and he tapped into Joey Clanton's cars that came down into turn number 1, and what an unreal break for those guys. Again, we mentioned both working within the top 5.
Let's take a look at what happened, and really it all started with this guy, number 71, Clanton. He loosened her up pretty good here. Right there.
Here he gets a little step out in the rear end there as he goes sliding through the corner. That's how Glenn Allen Jr. was able to run right underneath them here. Cleaver now goes to the inside, but right there's the boom, the tap, and Cleaver gets on the brakes instead of getting in the back of Greg Williams. He spins. Up the track goes Joey Clanton, and it looks like Joey Miller, also the car right in the middle there. He also skated away, but has front end damage. Here again, watch the bump right as they come off of turn number 4. Down the front stretch, right there they touch. That sends Cleaver. Legacy had nowhere to go as well, and now we see the spin up here of the 71 of Joey Clanton.
Yeah, once he touched that, those outside tires got up in that junk, and he's got some serious debris on those tires, and he's going to have to come in and see Miller coming in as well. Now, a lot of the people involved in that, if you get out in that slop outside, it's bad. Let's check in with Bob Dillner as Clanton's coming in.
Well, Greg, it's been an emotional couple of laps for Joey Clanton. He was pretty ticked off at Glenn Allen after Glenn Allen shoved him up the racetrack to keep him behind him. He got past Glenn and then had that incident too. Now he brings the number 71 onto pit road. Chad Orr and the guys go to work on the right side of this race car. Joey trying to stay cool. Inside that car right now, Jody Wilkerson changing the right front tire. Joey is down and away, but Jim We all know what Joey did last year. It's going to be interesting to watch this guy try to come to the front again.
And as I thought about it, Bob, last year at Winchester, the final race of the year, Todd Cleaver had a very fast race car. He and Joey Clanton got together late in that race, which turned the whole scenario of the championship on its ear. And it wasn't anything that's historical. It's just a matter of track position once again between two very fast race cars at a racetrack that really was been very tight in turn number 1. Winchester a year ago was almost a one groover in turn 3 where they made contact. But then again, that's in my brain and others that have followed this series for a number of years.
Well, number 29, Sorensen, also made a stop in the pits. We'll see where he locks up. You know, when you ask Butch Miller, who's your hero in ASA, who could he possibly say was his?
No doubt about it. Bob Seneker held every track record, every record there was in ASA, and he could have been a Winston Cup star. He probably could have been a Formula One star. Chose to stay with ASA. He's ASA's hero.
Great fans, and they're enjoying it here today. We want to remind those fans, tune in to Wind Tunnel tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Some great guests will join Dave Despain. Once again, Wind Tunnel, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Tonight, let's get right down to Rob Albright.
Greg Lang is Glenn Allen's crew chief. Greg, what was the problem for Glenn? So you taking a look at one of those right side tires?
Yeah, we're kind of fighting a tire thing. We're trying to get the stops right. You know, we weren't coming here on Monday. Tuesday, we decided to come. Hunted up some local sponsor from a couple places I hang out in a limousine service, Choice Limousine and Nissan Sports Bar. But we're on the right track now. We put on the rights. We're going to put on lefts with about 100 to go and run to the end.
He also made a track bar adjustment while he was on pit road. Bob Dillner is with Joey Clanton's crew chief.
And that is, Chad Orr, a roller coaster of emotion. First, you guys were aggravated with Glenn Allen, and now you're at the back of the pack and you get back up front.
Yeah, it's a tough deal. I'm sure Glenn didn't mean to do what he did, run us up the racetrack like that, but, you know, it's all part of racing. We got fresh tires on the car, and I don't think I got one of the best drivers in the series. I don't think I have a problem getting back to the front. At least we hope so.
And Chad, to go, if they wouldn't have spun there, this race would have been theirs.
Well, that's a good piece of optimism, no question of that. Now, as the old thing goes, if it ended now, here's what we'd be looking at.
Well, Butch Miller would gain some serious points as Kevin Swinski's back in 11th on the racetrack, but Reed Sorensen again gaining positions on Travis Kittleson. They're 3rd and 7th overall in the points, but as we take the snapshot here, look at how tight it is between Reed Sorensen, Mike Garvey, Robbie Pyle, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That's thousands of dollars at year-end payout. So as they look ahead to the championship and the outside chance of getting that, they have to protect their own turf now. It's just 8 points between Sorensen in 3rd and the next spot behind him.
Green flag.
And we are back to green. Leading him by is Brian Refner with Butch Miller in tow, and Toby Porter, who kind of went quiet there for a while. They played a great strategy game at that GoGo Motorsports team and have him up into 3rd.
We're on board with his AFCO Performance Products number 11 as he comes off of turn number 4. He's right in the thick of things once again, but that's the great thing about the mandatory pit stops, and one thing that ASA veteran Mike Miller, who's here advising Jonathan Island's efforts today, he said, I love to watch the races on speed because of the pit stop strategy and the mandatory stops and the excitement it brings because you have more lead changes, more thought of strategy. And Howie Little makes the calls on the 11 team. He's had 6 Rookie of the Year champions and 1 title as the champion driver with Tony Rain. So as far as titles and pit strategies and all that fun stuff, he's got a whole shelf full of them on his toolbox. Well, this is the right strategy right now.
They finished 2nd here last year, didn't they, with Stremme?
Yes, they did. Different driver, different deal. Toby Porter trying to get him back on the podium for their 2nd straight race. He was 3rd at Lake Erie.
Right there, Gary St. Amant, the orange number 7 Medicine Shop Chevy, and behind him we hop on board with Robbie Pyle, the Citgo NBA Chevy. And you can see picked up a little extra sponsorship for Gary St. Amant, Hawkins, and Grease Lightning helping them out. They've really become involved in this. Grease Lightning, especially for this race as a title sponsor, they're helping out a lot of these programs, and that's great to see. This is the battle right here for 6th right now. St. Amant has it. And the number 63 Pyle right behind him is 7th. Behind them is Garvey, but he's about a 2nd off at this stage. Well, man, there it is. Mike Garvey and number 1, Sawinski. And when we went back to green, Sawinski was 11th, but he's now 9th going after 8. Oh, we've got a caution. Caution on the race course. And Jurkovic again, that's number 3 that he's been involved in. And I don't, by any stretch, think they're all his doing. But he's been involved in 3 now of these spins and yellows.
I don't think Boris would list Elko Speedway is one of his favorite racetracks right now. I think he's looking forward to getting back home to Ileana Speedway September 20th here on Speed. That's his home track. He's going to be very good there.
Well, we just did that graphic, and we said if it ended right now, for Boris, it would be if it ended right now, that would be a good thing. We'll be back to Elko. A great crowd, beautiful weather, having a good time. And Dick Trickle going, all right, I get to watch a great race. Welcome back, everybody. This is not only an enthusiastic crowd, it is SRO and wall-to-wall. It is huge. Look at it wrapping around in the corners. They're watching a great race. During this race, we've been updating you as we hop on board with Toby Porter about the GoGo Motorsports crew. The last segment, things weren't going as smoothly as they had hoped.
So after a top 5 finish at Lake Erie Speedway, this crew has come together and put together the effort to run the same car at Elko Speedway, including a Tuesday night pit stop competition and a lot of concentrated work to get done with the 2 full-time members of the crew. Ahead of them lie a 6-hour drive to the Twin Cities in Minneapolis in hopes of their 3rd top 5 finish of the season and perhaps their 1st win of the year.
We had a little fuel leak problem yesterday on the truck. It was on Highway 52 in Minnesota. Started smelling diesel fuel, and as the car started going by us with the winch wipers on them, finally, we better pull over and check it out. As soon as you open the hood and the fuel was spraying, it looked like a heartbeat. When you cut your arm, squirt, squirt, squirt. So it was pretty easy to find. As far as trying to find a part, we went to our parts store, finally ended up a John Deere dealer. And that, the part, the fitting, so we could get it back on the road and after the pit stop competition.
Well, we discovered it's not just race cars that sometimes have problems on race weekends, as we had just gone back to green. And I noticed that's Trado there. And, he has that same macabre sense of description, I think. Does
yeah, the heartbeat pumping through the arm and all that. He's my older brother Ron. I was there when he was sledding and cut his arm with a piece of ice. So yeah, he knows all about the blood pumping out.
First person narrative. Yeah. All right. Well, we're on board with Robbie Powell, and he is now 7th, and he gets down underneath the 7th of Gary St. Amant. Right in front of them is the number 5 of Rick Beebe, who we really haven't talked about too much, but he's quietly parlayed his race into a top 5 run right now. And there's the pass. Or was it?
At this point in the race, I'm just wondering if there's going to be a clean pass. He's really fighting for track position.
Well, Bob Dillner, Gary St. Amant kind of trapped up high, but he's not letting Powell by easily.
Greg, that number 17 has been scrambling all day. Gary St. Amant trying to give that car all its worth. And I say that because the team put the wrong gear in the race car. Right now, in fact, the entire race, Gary St. Amant has had to run that car in 3rd gear. And that's pretty unusual here at Elko because everybody else is running the 4th gear.
That may be why he's consistently running a little bit different lineup there, as he's just trying to keep the revs where they should be for this thing.
The true irony is he's the one that tipped me off to the gearing ratios, and now he's having to do the best he can, and this could well be his best run of the season. He led the most laps in a race earlier this year, but had a problem in the pits afterward, and then did not result in a good finish. He was running top 5 at Mansfield, actually running for 6th at Mansfield, when he had a horrific crash with his bench teammate, Stephen Light.
Well, you know, as we went to break, we saw a gentleman reclining and watching a little racing. I think Rob Albright's found him.
Well, Dick Trickle, as I said at the top of the show, 1,000 career wins on short tracks across the country, but he decided to quit work early today. Why, Dick?
Well, we got the radiator, and, you know, time we got a radiator and stuff in it and fix the damage. Most of the sheet metal up front. We never got a chance to adjust the car or play any of our strategy. So I really feel real bad for Kevin Lang and the guys, but you know, we just wrecked the radiator, and no sense burning the motor down.
Well, we'd love to get you back real soon, Dick, for another race. And now down to Bob Dillner.
Well, Joey Clanton's day goes from bad to worse. He is on pit road and unstrapping from the race car. The alternator went bad on his number 71. What a tough end to the day for Joey Clanton, who was so good out here today. We'll try to get a word with Joey in a moment.
All right, thanks very much. And just to go back to Dick Trickle for a minute, the guy that was Dick's crew chief when he started off in snowmobile racing in Wisconsin Rapids and then moved to cars, Russ Ebert, has been the guy who has propelled Tucker Hibbert to some tremendous success in professional snowmobile and snowcross racing. A couple of years ago, for a birthday present, Dick's wife said, I got a couple of airline tickets for you. Go have some fun. And he spent a weekend crewing with Tucker Hibbert. It was a lot of fun. On board now with Kevin Sawinski, and we've been sort of following his points championship. Things have shuffled a little bit at this stage, and here's how it looks. Not by much. There was a difference from the last time you looked at it in terms of those top 2.
Just a little difference with Kevin Swinsky breaking into the top 10. Butch Miller solidly in second right now, but as if it ended right now, this would be the snapshot. Reed Sorensen would have Mike Garvey. That edge just 6 points, third to fourth.
And Joey Clanton has stepped out. Bob's there.
You can see the disappointment on his face. Joey, a tough end to the day, which was looking pretty good.
Well, we just 55 got in, so we had to come in for an unscheduled stop. We had the car to beat. We're up front. You know, it's tough for Terry Coons and Brett Sontag trying to get a good run out of this thing. No doubt in my mind, we did have the car to beat. You know, the alternator goes bad, and you can't control those things, and we'll just come back and try it again, have a little more fun.
Well, Joey's had one of those days. It all went wrong as we have just now come to the three-quarter mark, just past 300 laps. But it's been eventful for him. He in the number 30 got into a great run. He came in, had a pit stop, but did not get down into the pit entry lane soon enough and ended up getting a penalty. Then he gets into it with the 55 at Cleaver, and he spins top of the screen. From that point, it even got worse and eventually had the electrical problem that parked him.
He got into the top 5 once again, so Clanton was going to have a solid day. Probably messed around with little points a little bit. If he stayed in the top 10, it would have cost Kevin Swinsky 5 more points if he had finished between Butch Miller and Swinsky. At this point, Butch is ahead of him on the racetrack, but when it comes to racing, Joey Clanton always gives 100%. It would be great to see him back here in ASA for a few more races.
Well, you can see that he is why he was the champion last year. I mean, he just adapted and was just bad fast from the get-go. Now we're watching what's unfolding here. The number 80 is your leader, Brian Repner. Then the lap car of number 23 for this event is Steve Carlson. And then it's the 52 of Butch Miller. Then there it is, the 11 of Toby Porter. Sits in that third spot. The 33 of Greg Stewart has had, rare for him these days, a clean race, and not by his own doing. And when he's got a clean racetrack, he's able to do some awful nice things, and he's worked his way up into the top 4. But meanwhile, we see Toby Porter, and Toby is trying to work around some lap traffic. Check in with Rob Albright.
Well, his crew chief is not happy at all. Howie let out wondering why in the world lap machine of Jonathan Island does not let the third place car go. It's been so long, guys, you may not remember Toby Porter brought out an early yellow with a spin. I asked Howie if he was good to go to the end. He kind of shrugged his shoulders. He said, we really would like another set of right side tires, but we've got to follow the lead of the 2 guys in front of us. Gentlemen?
Well, that's a good point, isn't it, Jim? Sometimes you may want to do something, but your strategy is literally dictated by the leaders of the race, and they pretty much tell you almost what you're going to do.
And the lap times really tell the story as well. If you're not running off pace, or if you're on pace with the leaders, there's really no reason to get that extra oomph. If indeed the leaders stay out, you lose all that track position.
But a great run today by the number 80 of Brian Repner, and you knew he was going to break through sometime, Bob Dillner, maybe today.
Well, Greg, the big question for that team right now is, can they hold on? They have a lot older tires than a lot of the guys trying to charge through the field right now. But as we all know, short track racing is tough. Track position is key. And right now, the team thinks they are in the catbird seat. The car was tight a little earlier on. It's freed up, and he's good to go, he says.
He's good to go, but he's got 85 laps yet to make those tires live. And worse news for him, behind him by only 3/4 of a second is green and blue. And it's coming on in the form of number 52, Butch Miller. Here's a look at the rest of the top 10. Welcome back. Number 60, Ed Brown, has gone around. We're under caution, and that's maybe a quick opportunity for some of the fans to duck out of the stands and hit the souvenir stands. And believe me, they are really prevalent around this great facility. Stuff from the local track itself, as well as the ASA Tour and others as well. And we mentioned just briefly a little bit earlier a great run by number 5, Rick Beebe. He was in 5th at one point. He's back in 7th after those pit stops, but he has put together a very solid run. It's been quiet, Rob Albright, but it's sure been effective.
You know, Rocket Rick, he's just doing what he always does, and that is run solidly and run just smoothly. Last week, he finished 4th at Erie, Pennsylvania. I called him on Monday to see if he was home, congratulate him. I caught him in his car. I said, well, am I interrupting something? He said, yeah, you are. He said, it's 104 degrees here in Kansas, and I'm out doing my real job selling air conditioning systems. He's a heating and air conditioning contractor. So Rick Beebe, he sets the example for a lot of these guys that want to race in ASA. This is the top level for Rick. He can run it competitively, and yet he can still maintain a full-time job. Guys?
Boy, and talk about having the right kind of conditions to make that kind of a sail in that kind of weather. Here's number 55, Doc Lever. And Jim, he's been in the top 5 all day, and then he had that spin he got involved with the number 71 of Clanton, and he's chipping away, and he's now back in the top 10. And every time we watch him, he's fast and he's very, very aggressive.
And he's
today.
been top 10 in points, Greg, which really brings out a point of consistency. We haven't seen him race up front and lead a bunch of laps, but running for third and getting together with Joey Clanton, it's kind of a situation where he's had a really fast race car, and the finishes are going to come. And this team, in just their second full season in ASA, is only in their 4th year of stock car racing, period. He ran late models in 2001, capturing a championship at a local track and a regional touring series in Wisconsin in the same year with the same car. So it's really been a new move for him to get into stock car racing. He's doing very well in just his 2nd year here in ASA.
He's having a great year. Now here's a similar paint job, but a little different driver. This is Butch Miller, who finds himself in 2nd right now. And Bob, you got to wonder what he's thinking, especially in terms of this points championship.
Exactly. Dion Deneau is his crew chief. Dion, you said the car wasn't perfect, but you're in 2nd. Can you get by Refner?
You know, that last pit stop, the Timberwolf guys did some adjustments. It was really good now. The long runs is what we need. Short runs, the car ain't that great. As the tires wear, the faster we get. Refner's got a pretty good race car here, but they're gambling on fuel mileage, so maybe we'll get lucky.
And remember, guys, Butch Miller has certainly got that veteran expertise.
That he does, and he's got some stuff happening. Now, there's been a big development and a very special development for the ASA National Tour. And a bit earlier, Rob Albright checked in, and it involves health.
For 2003, ASA has positioned itself as the leader in motorsport safety technology. Well, this weekend, ASA Safety Director Scott Isaacs unveils the latest weapon in his safety arsenal, the Sparrowfoot Rapid Race Rescue Vehicle. Scott, tell us about it.
This is a full race truck with racing suspension, high-performance motor that's designed to be able to rapidly intervene on the racetrack. It has onboard firefighting systems designed by Fire Service Plus with Fire Aid 2000 that can be discharged from the vehicle while we're still on the racetrack approaching an accident, and then also have 250-foot reels where we can get out and extinguish the fire. And then we also carry some ancillary cleanup equipment and medical equipment on the vehicle also.
With more than 600 horsepower and all the other racing goodies, this has to be the world's fastest fire truck. The big question is, once the caution is over, will they be able to get Scott Isaacs off the racetrack?
That's true, and I'll tell you, safety improvement is so key here. And you take a look at some of the safety improvements we're looking forward to next year.
2004, they're looking at adding on the data recorders. They're looking at some honeycomb cushioning areas in the rear bumper and side impact. Another dash bar to make that chassis a little bit safer for the driver as well. And they're going to do some gusseting in the front and rear clips as well to make sure the car is around the welds of the chassis.
And we are back to green, lap 330, 70 to go. And you saw in that graphic too, hats off system, which is a very interesting program to be able to get a helmet off somebody with great ease and not moving their head around. So they're really looking forward to the future in terms of safety improvements in the series. And as a driver, you've got to be very thankful for that. Scott Legacy, a little bit of bump and go with the number 11 of Porter. Legacy, of course, down a couple laps, and he's got a fast car. Toby Porter would certainly like to be able to sneak by him because he's got number 33 Stewart, number 17 Garvey completing the top 5, and they are hungry. They are right behind him, and actually pushing them is the 63 of Robbie Pyle.
And everyone's on the very bottom of the racetrack, almost getting a bit of a turn off the curbing inside the racetrack. When you come down in turn number 1 and 2 here, watch how close they get to that little concrete berm, that little curbing area. So certainly that bottom is where the drivers want to race this racetrack without lap traffic being the hampering device. Legacy right here, he gets his lap back for the leader.
He just went by. Actually, Refner's the one more he's got to get. But he got by. If you're passing Butch Miller this late in the race, that car is obviously working very well. Now, you pointed out.
Whoa!
Oh, Porter going around. And
the hood of Todd Kleber also makes a lap. Boy, what an amazing run here. Gone bad late. Second spin on the day for Porter, but it was he and Greg Stewart very tight off the curbing on the bottom of turn number 4, who got on the gas first. It might have been Greg Stewart behind Toby Porter to send him around.
Well, the unfortunate thing here, of course, is this is exactly what Butch Miller's team did not want to see. They wanted to have it go green for a while. And take a look. We're going to go back and take a look at the replays of what unfolded here, Jim.
On board, we're in the number 11 car. You listen there. You rev the engine. It sounded like the rear tires got lifted. That's an indication it was a spin from tap from behind. We'll take another look. Right tucked behind the 11 car. Right there, we see that already around is Toby Porter in the Meyer number 11. But I don't think he would have spun by himself off that corner. And Stewart now spun up turn number 2 under this caution here.
Stewart getting it turned around, and Rob Albright, a great run, going bad again.
You know, it's ironic. I was set to do an interview with his crew chief, Gene Roberts. The caution came out. Greg was involved. We got Gene back down here, set to do a second interview. He gets spun out by Toby Porter. He said, I don't want to do it right now. Come back later. I don't blame him, guys. He did have a great run going, but it's all going to the back now in this late stages of this race.
Yeah, it's interesting here, and I mean, obviously Stewart's got to come in, but if that was a payback hit, and that's what they say, let's see it. I think we may have caught it.
Off the turnip right here on the screen. You see the 11 just drive right through the back bumper of Greg Stewart's number 33 under caution. Frustration in his last 100 laps.
Bob, the Meyer number 11 for Toby Porter is on pit road. I asked the crew, what did Toby say? And he said, he just flat spun me out. Toby very aggravated, taking a drink inside that car. The team has changed right side tires, but no real visible damage on that Meyer number 11.
Now keep in mind that Toby Porter's crew chief told us, Howie Leno said, I don't want to come in if the leaders don't come in, but we'd love to get right side tires. This is not the circumstance they wanted to be in.
Not at all, and it's going to hurt him, obviously, but continuing to lead, Brian Reffner up front with Butch Miller in second. Well, you saw the safety truck here for ASA. How about NASCAR Craftsman Truck Racing? Coming up from Richmond, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time live. You know where, right here on Speed. We continue under caution, and you see the number 11 of Toby Porter down in the pits, and they are holding him for one full lap, as a penalty, and it's the payback. And here's what it looked like. First from the onboard of Porter.
This is under caution. Porter now getting to the back end of the 33 and send him around under caution, under a slower speed. Very frustrated. We see once again right here, he just kind of drove right through the bumper cover on the 33 of Stewart to spin him out. Now Stewart has to blend back in, so he lost a lot of positions there as well. ASA, instead of waiting till after the race, maybe assess or think about the penalty, right away put them down a lap.
Let's get right down to Bob Dillner. What's happening?
Well, we are with crew chief Howie Ledow, and Howie, a lot going on. Why don't you tell me about it?
Well, I don't know. They just brought us in for a penalty here, I guess. We're out there racing, run third, and the 33 car just plain took us out, you know, and he retaliated. Shouldn't have done that, so that's the way it goes.
Short track racing, and you know what, guys? Emotions are always high on the bull rings.
Yeah, a little hot underneath the collar and underneath the visor, the number 11 there, and obviously there was contact between Stewart and Porter that sent Porter around, but is a payback, you know, the old two wrongs are right thing? Who knows? Let's get back down to Bob.
It's small consolation, guys, but I just talked to Gene Roberts for a second time, and he said, boy, I hate that. He said, I know Howie, I know Toby, I know it was unintentional on Greg's part. I hate it. If it had to happen to anybody, that would be the last guy. So I think there was genuine remorse there, guys.
Yeah, I was mistaken. Greg Stewart did get his position back. He's now third on the racetrack, so ASA said, hey, you got spun out intentionally. We're giving you your spot back.
Well, the guy to watch here might well be the number 20 of Legacy. He is so fast right now. And if he can get around, and he got the yellow to help him out, if he can get around Reffner, and there's another yellow, well, Legacy might, I don't think he's in the hunt for the win, but he can certainly have him play a factor and move up a few spots. And he's quick, no question of that. And right now, I mean, Butch Miller, he doesn't maybe have the car to win, and that's where Butch's experience is so good. He knows that Sawinski's back behind him a little bit. You know, a win would be better, but second isn't so bad in terms of points. And Joey Miller, who, 36 has...
Boy, what a change here. We saw the 11 car of Toby Porter coming down pit road once we took the green. We see that Joey Miller, who stayed so long, so hard to stay on lead lap, has to pit 6 or 7 times. Porter's got a problem. Joey Miller's got a problem. Then the caution comes out for Tim Sauter in the Lester Buildings, number 36. He came back on lead lap, so he's had a long day. Just all things falling apart right now, not falling in line for these three drivers.
Absolutely, and getting back to what we heard from Yandanu, he was saying we need long runs for Butch's car to get really fast. So we're going to see what happens. We're on board here with Robbie Pyle as we're almost at 350 laps. And Robbie, one of the fastest guys in the circuit, who does he respect? Think of as a hero?
I have several heroes. Mike Eddy, Bob Seneker, those kind of guys are what I grew up watching race, and probably the guys that wanted to get me in the series. But I don't know if I'd want to race against them. They're pretty tough racers, but those would have to be my heroes.
We're back at Elko. Jim's got our leader on the radio.
Brian Reffner, the race leader. This is Jim Trado in the Speed Channel booth. Brian, your car looks awfully stout. Toledo 1995 must seem like an eternity ago.
Yeah, 10-4, Jim. We're enjoying being up front here, and We got a handful of laps. Hope we'll pull this one off.
Brian, you mentioned earlier in the broadcast how hard it is to race competitively here. Has it taken this long in the season to get to a point where you can win a race?
Yeah, 10-4. The team's finally coming together, and cars been running strong, and we've finished 6th a whole bunch of times. So hopefully we can make it a 1st today.
Best of luck to you, Brian.
All right, Brian Repner getting ready to go. Let's check in with Rob Albright.
Shane Tesh, usually Mike Garvey's spectacular on the racetrack, but he's been quiet today, but he's quietly in contention for a win. Have things gone according to plan?
Ready?
Not exactly. Our Jana King Chevrolet started out a little on the free side today, so we worked on it all day long, got it better. Now we're one of the top cars out there. On the speed charts, we're right at the top, so I think we got a car to win if we can get around these next 2 cars.
Confidence from Shane Tesh and his driver Mike Garvey, guys.
Well, how can you not be confident when Garvey's your wheelman? I mean, he's now 3rd behind Miller and the leader Refner. And once again, Scott Lagasse really is the only wrench in the plans here, as he's got a very fast car and has been, for 20 laps now, 1 car away from getting back on that lead lap. He's not going to make it easy. The battle here is going to be between 52 Miller and 17 Garvey with Pyle coming on. And now this is when you wonder for Butch Miller, what do? You let Garvey go if he's super racy because you don't want to wreck, because you know Sawinski's still way back there. Or do you say, no, I need these points?
That's what I love, watching the best short track racing in the country right here in your living room. You're on board with Robbie Pyle down the backstretch. 2 of the best, Mike Garvey on the inside, and 49-time winner in ASA, Butch Miller to the outside.
And Butch kind of got floated out just a little bit, and Pyle goes by as well. Bob Dillner, I'll tell you, Robbie Pyle's not waiting.
He is, and that's because he has the freshest tires on the racetrack. So, Christy, Bill McGowan, what does that mean?
Well, normally that mean a whole lot. The track's starting to come apart a little bit here at 3 and 4, and a little slippery up there, so just have to hope and see what happens.
Robbie Pyle going for 2 in a row, but guys, we got to watch that. The track may be coming up 3 and 4.
Well, that's going to mean, fresh tires are going to be huge, and that may put Robbie in a pretty good position here. And I think I'm still interested if we can get another 10, 15 laps of green flag in. Butch may come back to life again, because that's how they say his car's been working here. But you got to be impressed right now with Robbie Pyle's speed. And Kevin Sawinski, when we went back to green, was 9th, and he just got by Davin Seitz, who's loose again, and picked up the 8th spot. And Gary St. Amant following him through, and Seitz looks to be in trouble again.
So Sawinski then orange flash number 1, trying to wheel his way back into a top 5 finish, will his way perhaps to an outside shot of the win at his home track here at Elko. Sawinski's on the charge. Butch Miller, we saw, lost a couple of spots. Things are really heating up for this title chase.
Bob Dillner?
You guys might be wondering what happened to Joey Miller. He had such a good run going. He was caught up in that Todd Cleaver and Joey Clanton wreck. Hence, they have been on pit road a dozen times to try to fix that car. So a tough day for Joey Miller.
Yeah, he was racy early on, no question. Looked very, very quick, but that has been perhaps one of his problems. And sometimes it's just bad luck, wrong spot, wrong time. But finishing races competitively have been a bit of a struggle for him.
It's his 7th race this year. Looking forward to perhaps a full run next year as Joey Miller. He has 1 more shot. You can run up to 8 races a given year to maintain your rookie status.
Watching right there, the number 5, Rick Beebe, running in 5th. Behind him, you see Todd Cleaver. And Cleaver now trying to come by Butch Miller. Behind him is the lap car, number 30 of Kittleson. So we got quite a queue forming up, and then there he is, the number 1 of Sawinski. And look at that now. Basically, as Cleaver if he makes this pass, that's going to put Miller and Sawinski within 1 position of each other.
And with Todd Cleaver running around the hood, you would think it's aerodynamic reasons, but it may be better for the engine to get more air on the engine. Just the opposite. Inside the grill covering is where the air inlet comes into the engine. It's a sealed, electronically fuel-injected engine. So with Cleaver getting air outside the cowling area, it's actually forcing less air into the inlet. So maybe a situation where the engine may run a bit hotter than cooler, you'd think, with no hood on that race car. So Cleaver's got to watch it. Number 1, he can't really push it, but he also has to watch that temp gauge, because the engine might get a little hotter with the hood off than with the hood on.
And Rick Beebe, I would think Bob Dillner enjoying what he's seeing in his mirror, and that's the pursuer having a lot of pressure.
Absolutely. The Rocket Man, Rick Beebe, having a great run here today at Elko. I spoke to crew chief John Bryant just a little while ago, and he thought he had a car to contend. But in the last 10 laps or so, that car has gotten a little bit loose as the sun beats down on this racetrack.
All right, thanks very much. And he's hanging on right now. Cleaver behind him. Then it is Butch Miller, but underneath Butch goes the number 1 is Sawinski. He tried him. They're still side by side. And Sawinski gets the nose ahead, dropping down low. Butch has been running that outside line now for a while. And this is it, your points championship. The top two contenders, and they are side by side. And this could just spell it. And you have to admire Butch Miller's honesty about it, saying, we have to do something special, and we need Kevin to have some big problems. He said, if he does it, I'm not sure we can catch him. And Kevin is putting the pressure on right now, big time. That is your battle for 7th with 27 laps to go. Butch Miller outside. Sawinski easing ahead. Here's a look at your top 10 as we're coming into our final 25 laps. Welcome back to Elko Speedway, and we have a new leader. Number 17, the Jana King Chevy, Mike Garvey, has gone to the lead. That is Refner in second, the Menards Morton Salt Chevy, but right behind him, and heaping on the pressure, is Robbie Pyle in the 63 Signal Chevy. Now, Jim, let's go back and show you that pass.
Down the front straightaway here, Mike Garvey made the position known. He wanted the inside line. Brian Refner raced him for a number of laps, 2 or 3 side by side, but just a matter of better tires, better handling at this point. The Jana King Chevy to the bottom in turn number 3 once again. Lap traffic not an issue here. Mike Garvey takes the lead clean on for turn number 4.
And now you see the battle for second between Refner and the number 63. And this, the comeback charge by Garvey. He also had to stop and go early in the race. And he's been very quiet, which is very not Mike Garvey. But if you remember a couple races back, he said, he and Teshin talked, and one of the things that Teshin told him, Mike said he was right, I need to rein it in a little bit, just take what the car gives me, and if we're fast, we'll win. And if we're not, we take what we get instead of me trying to beat everybody every time we go on the track. Pretty good strategy.
And a defining moment for Mike Garvey 3 races ago was at Berlin Raceway. Heading into the final stages, heading for a top 5 run, ended up body slamming Robbie Pyle into turn number 3. Beat himself up at Jennerstown and Lake Erie, saying, man, I shouldn't have done it. I feel so bad. I had to fix the car. What it's done, though, I think it's ratcheted him back, saying, okay, now I have to reassess. Am I that aggressive all the time? Maybe I am too aggressive. Here, he let the race come to him.
Yeah, speed's never been an issue for him, but aggression has, and looks like they've found themselves a pretty good plan here. There's that battle for second, and it is still a good one. Legacy now has dropped out, so pretty much everybody's running for position. 33, Stewart still a very good 4th spot. He took damage in that incident, and Rick Beebe, another great run in 5th. Cleaver there. Let's see some good stuff happen.
Kevin Sawinski is 7th. Gary St. Amant is running 8th. Butch Miller's back in 9th, and Reed Sorensen rounds up your top 10.
Oh, there Robbie Pyle just got into that left rear corner of Refner a little bit. Loosened him up, got him sideways, didn't take him out. Backed off and let him fight again. And that's just the kind of guy Robbie Pyle is.
How many more chances will he have, though? We've seen Robbie get very aggressive, including his win last race.
That's another great battle on the track between 2 great champions, 52 Miller and the number 7 of Gary St. Amant. And they've actually been doing a little banging and rubbing out there in this battle. The problem for Butch in particular is it's behind Sawinski, who got by him. And you've been checking in with the pit guys.
The report from Bob Dillner is that he has a very tight race car. He cannot get that car freed up in the corner.
Oh, we've got a yellow apparently.
Greg Stewart has spun in turn number 3. You mentioned he's running great in 4th position, and that body balanced Chevy prepared by Gene Roberts has spun around in turn 4.
Wow, so we're coming up. We had 5 to go. Is how quick it was unfolding. 5 to go. When we come back, it's going to be shootout time here in Elko. Welcome back once again to Elko Speedway. 5 to go. The leader's Mike Garvey. Jim's got him on the radio.
Mike Garvey leading this race so late in the going here. It has to be extra special knowing what your crew has been able to do after an early stop and go in the race.
Hey, we got a great stop. Race ain't over. We got 5 laps to go yet, but I'll tell you what. We're trying to get this for Jana King. They came on board. This would be great to get them a win. Most of our crews from here in Minnesota in the Lakeville area, they do an awesome job flying the races with us, and it would really be a problem for those guys if we can pull it off. We got 5 to go. It ain't over yet, but we'll see if we can't hang on here.
Mike, we speculated from our vantage point, it's been a race where you've let it come to you, less aggression. Is that the case?
Our car's good on the long runs, and luckily we got a long run here, so we're going green here. I got to cut out.
Well, you can understand that. It's time to get busy here. 5 laps now. The number 36, this has been a great story all day for Tim Sauter. They had problems early, faded back. He went down a lap, and he's now back and in 12th. This is a guy who, one, is getting some great speed out of his car, and two, just refuses to say that.
And you wonder where the next Sauter may come from. His son Travis, his 21-year-old son, his oldest, is spotting for him today. He's a track record holder and won the feature last week at the Wisconsin Dells Motor Speedway. So there's more Sauters coming, and Tim's very proud of the efforts today of his entire crew. Jim Ellison, his co-crew chief at 99, back with the team as well today.
And we go green, and number 17, Garvey lets her fly. Repner's into second, stays put, 63 right there as well. Number 5, Beebe, is now up into the 4th spot. What was Stewart's problems in the 55 of Todd Cleaver, having a career day, really, in many ways, sitting right there in 5th.
He refuses to give up. The hood's off that race car. He's been spun out a couple times. He got together with Joey Glenn, and again, it's just a matter of finishing these races and having the right mindset before the run.
We're now 4 laps to go, and the rule is you have to have consecutive laps at the finish, so that the clock, literally, the lap count stopped when we went caution. The story here certainly is Pyle's attempts to get by Repner, but right behind Cleaver is the number 1 of Sawinski and the 52 of Miller. And there's your points championship battle as well. Oh, so close. Pyle got the nose alongside. We'll see if it's enough. Works to the inside. Well, I'll tell you one thing Brian Repner is going to be awfully happy about is if he's got to race somebody this close at the end of the race as we pick up the white, he's glad it's Robbie Pyle. But this is it. Last lap, Pyle drifts across, little block pass, picks up the 2nd spot. BB 4th, but here comes Garvey. Final turn. Mike Garvey, the man in black, and Janikin back in winner's circle. Garvey's 4th win of the season. And this one came from, shall we say, quote-unquote, the new Mike Garvey.
Great run by him. Robbie Pyle finishes 2nd after a win last race at Lake Erie Speedway. The thought was whoever did well, Lake Erie did well here. Pyle backs up his win with a 2nd place run. And Mike Garvey, a great run. That's Lisa Garvey, Mike's wife. She's also the spotter. She's been spotting for Mike Garvey since he started racing late models and touring and here in ASA.
Well, she does a great job, as does the crew. Rob?
Certainly Mike Garvey, one of the short track talents in the country, but this guy right here, one of the short track talents as a crew chief. Shane Tesh, another great call from the pit box today.
It was everybody. Mike did a great job today. We got penalized at the stop and go for dropping down too early. Everybody just stuck together, and the Janet King car pulled off another one. This is our first win for Janet King. We're glad we could do this for him. It's wonderful.
First win for Janet King, 4th win of the season for Shane Tesh and his driver Mike Garvey and this entire race team, guys.
And you heard from Shane Tesh, no vainglory on that team. He is talking about Garvey, and Garvey's doing the donuts, and he's celebrating the crew right there.
They worked together for 3 years, Shane Tesh and Mike Garvey, right here in the greater Minneapolis area as teammates and working for LeFevre Racing, who Mike had worked for 3 years here in the Minnesota area. So big win for Shane Tesh in front of his hometown crowd as a crew chief.
And Mike burned those BF Goodrich tires to the ground, and the reason is it's been a while since he's been able to do those donuts. He was getting everything out of it that he possibly could. It's going to take a while here for that tire smoke. Look at that cloud he launched up. Here's our unofficial results, top 10. Garvey with, talk about a well-judged drive to the win. Pyle, very aggressive in the end. Great to see it with a 2nd. A win and a 2nd the last 2 races for Robbie. Pretty good. Refner, he's back. Rick Beebe, another great run. And Todd Cleaver, I really think that could be a career run for him here. Then Sawinski, Miller, St. Amant, Sorensen, and Seitz. Let's get right down to Bob Dillon.
In victory lane with Mike Garvey, he is still unstrapping from his number 17 Janet King Chevrolet. His wife, Lisa, gives them a big congratulations. The crew comes up. Mike very hot inside the car right now. It is going to be a moment before he climbs out of this race car, which was a very fast one today in Elko, Minnesota. Mike has rung the bell at the Labor Day Classic Minnesota race before, and he is going to do it again. He still has his helmet on as his crew tries to unstrap him. But how about those donuts? Absolutely incredible down here. I counted about a dozen of them. Chris Roth trying to unstrap Mike Garvey, the winner here in Elko. But I think it's going to be a minute before we can get to him. He's going to take a swig of water and climb out of this race car.
Was that a baker's dozen or a true dozen?
I think that was a true dozen. I didn't count quite 13. And, of course, we all know Mike is superstitious, so I don't think he would do 13 donuts.
Well, that's a good point. And there's Ken De La Bastide, who's obviously the person who sort of runs the pre-race and post-race for ASA, and he's waiting for Garvey to get the hat on. You know, Mike wants to make his appearance and do it elegantly and classily, so here he comes.
Here he is. Let's hear it for Mike Garvey. A big win here at the Labor Day Classic. Oh, he falls down the backside of the race car. Back up on top of the roof. We want to get Mike Garvey down here. Some water. Oh boy, we're getting wet down here in Winner's Circle here at ASA. It's been a long time since I've gotten the opportunity to talk to Mike Garvey in Winner's Circle, but how about it, dude?
Man, I'll tell you what, Bob, the crew did a great job. Ooh, I'm out of breath now. This car was good on the long runs, and we pitted hoping we'd get a long run at the end. It came right into our way. Jana King, WJ Clemens, Bill, Myra, thanks for everything, you guys. I love you. I couldn't do it without you. This crew, this is home for everybody. So we won a hometown Atlanta. This is about our second hometown, so winning at both our hometowns is awesome.
Early in the race, this car was wicked loose, Shane told me. And you're a wheelman. We know you got plenty of muscle. You had to wheel this car around the racetrack.
Well, it just kept coming to us. You know, it got better. We kept playing with the brakes, and the car just got better and better. And like I said, I want to thank Jana King. This is their first win back in a long time. Ooh, I didn't think I was tired. I'm tired now.
What do you think about winning the new Labor Day Classic here at Elko?
It's huge, man. I mean, I was talking to Steve earlier. I love 400-lap races. I love the longer races. It's awesome. It's just sweet, man. It's sweet for the whole team, all the people on our team. Like I said, our owners, our sponsors, everybody.
He's out of breath, but he's going to get a big kiss from his wife, Lisa.
And well-deserved, and she did a heck of a job spotting to work him up through that traffic and the light. Now, this is kind of nice because he adds his name for the second time to a pretty august list here, Jim.
And this, again, Labor Day Classic for the first time, moving away from the Minnesota State Fairgrounds. The fairgrounds no longer having auto racing, so Elko Speedway glad to take on that tradition just up the road. And look at the list of names on this list. They may not have all been champions, but Mike Miller, 6 points shy of a victory in his home state, won twice at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds, and dedicated it to his friend, the late Larry Deachens, who won the first event here in Minnesota on Labor Day back in 1981. Larry Deachens, the uncle of Chris and Scott Wimmer. And looking at that list, Butch Lindley, Mark Martin, Jim Sauter, a very stout effort for stock car history, all winners here in Minnesota.
No question. Let's get right back down to Bob Dillner in a busy victory circle.
And how about a stout effort by Robbie Pyle? First last week, second this week. This team is on a roll.
Yep, the setup change here really was the difference, and naturally Bill McGowan, crew chief, all that experience there, and man, Sitco, Howe, MDA, you know, all these people, I always forget to mention them. I get so excited up here, but I got to get them in there today.
How about the battle with Brian Refner? I mean, that was hard fought in the final couple laps.
Yeah, I think we had better tires than what he did. We were a little tight, so I kept trying to set him up, and track's coming up pretty good over there in 3 and 4, so kind of had to straddle that, but Brian's a great racer and clean racer, so I knew we wouldn't get too out of hand there.
I think there was some trading paint, though, going on a little bit there, wasn't there?
Oh, that's the fun part now, doing that. Still trading paint, not taking somebody out. That's the way to do it.
Rob Albright, who do you have?
Nobody worked harder for a third-place finish than did Brian Refner. Brian, you had the oldest tires of the lead group there at the end, but you hung on just as long as you can to that top spot.
Yeah, we certainly did, and it was unfortunate because if we'd had 1 or 2 more cautions, we could have held them off. You know, the new tires prevailed under the long greens, and it just got to the end, and I had everything I could to keep them off. And, you know, I didn't want to wreck anybody and race everybody flare. And, you know, we come up third. We really wanted to win today, and, you know, this Morton Salt Menard's car got third, and that's our best finish. And, you know, we're heading the right direction. That's the biggest plus.
You've been away for a long time. You not only charged to the front and stayed at the front for quite a while, you won the Grease Lightning Hard Charger Award today. So, you know, you'd like to win, but that's a great consolation prize.
Well, it certainly is, you know, and I was pretty disheartened starting 21st. It's a long ways back on a short track like this, and, you know, we made our way through without getting wrecked, and it was a good thing because we needed to finish.
This former champion is back, guys, and he's going to be in victory lane very, very soon, guys.
You got to believe it. 21st to 3rd. He's been fast in the last few races. Brian Refner, he's got a couple yet this season to see if he can't get that win. Get back in victory circle, where Mike Garvey's enjoying it right now. Because it's so promising, we want to remind you one last time, do not miss Wind Tunnel coming up tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Two-time Winston Cup champ and yesterday Southern 500 winner Terry Labonte, AMA motorcycle standout Kurt Roberts are going to be joining Dave in the studio. Wind Tunnel tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Speed. Here's our full field of results here, and obviously there's some implications. Great, of course, to see 17 Garvey back in the winner's circle. That's a good one. Robbie Pyle, another very strong run. But how about looking back in that 6 and 7 spot? That's kind of key.
Kevin Sawinski gaining 5 points. He also led a lap, give him 10 more as we head into our next event at Illiana Speedway.
Glenn Allen Jr. looks so strong early, but you got to give it to Tim Sauter. And how about Paul Payne? One of his better runs of the year. You got to feel for Greg Stewart as he slips back to 14th after those problems. Now we look at the the rest of the field, some big names there. Toby Porter, rookie mistake, but I'm sure he'll figure it out. Joey Clanton, fast, but a little problematic. And Dick Trickle, boy, I tell you what, when they had the autograph session here, long lines for Mr. Trickle, and in there is 31st through 33rd. Right back down to Bob Dillner with, I believe he's standing by with Mr. Beebe.
Oh, Rick Beebe and Todd Cleaver. Cleaver 5th. Beebe, you were 4th for the 2nd straight week. That's not bad for the Rocket Man.
Yeah, you know, down at Maryland Finetti's Howe cars working pretty darn good. Structural transport helping us, and Collis Equipment. Man, it's just great to be here. My crew chief, Mike Bryant, made a great call. We had good pit strategy. Everybody did a great job. Man, it's just great. It's cool to have you here, Dillner.
Well, thanks.
That's cool, man. We know we need to cool you off a little bit.
Woo! Thank you very much. Let's talk to Cleaver. Cleaver, please don't pour any water on me. What did you think about your run today?
Had a really good car. Bob Gumbo's been helping us out the last couple weeks. Really hoping he's going to stay around. Think we had the car to win it. We were in position there and running behind Ruffner with Joey, going for the lead, and got myself in a little bit of a situation. But drove back up to 5th place, so it was a good run for my Marshall Meadows Simon 1 Chevrolet.
A great run for both of these guys here today at Elko. Bob Gumbo is back, and it was great to be back. Another Bob here. Rob?
Greg Stewart appeared to be headed to a podium finish again today when all heck broke loose less than 50 laps from the finish. First, a couple of altercations on the racetrack with Toby Porter, and then in the very late going, one with Rick Beebe. Tell us about both of them, Greg.
I guess with the 11 car, I mean, you know, you're supposed to feel bad about it, I guess. But last week I had probably a podium finish going, and I was beating 11 on the long runs, and there was a restart with about 40 laps left, and he banged off of me 2 or 3 times getting in the corner and kind of got me out of shape pretty good. So he was just slowing me down pretty bad, and I was trying to get under him, and got a fender on him and just tapped him enough to get around. I backed off, went around him. Then I had a good car, man. Gene and all the guys gave me a good car today, and my brakes were getting really hot on the long runs. Pedal was getting soft. And Beebe, I eased into the corner at the end trying to not overdrive it because my brakes were bad. I think he might have touched me. I mean, it wasn't much, just enough to turn me around. It was just tough racing, and I've got to finish one of these things off one of these days. They'll give me good cars, and we're in good position to win. So one day we'll get it.
Well, it sounds like the situation with Toby escalated over the course of a couple of races. Will you be talking to him based on what happened here today?
No, I ain't got anything to say to him. He didn't speak to me after the last race, and it was just Saturday night racing, 30 or 40 laps to go, and on the restart, he just ran down in and got on the apron, and then he nailed me getting into 1, then he nailed me into 3, then he nailed me getting into 1 again, I think, and got me all bent out of shape. So, he didn't say anything about that. So if that's why he wants to race, we'll race like that the rest of the year.
Saturday night racing on Monday afternoon, guys.
It's a good, healthy attitude. Yeah.
They're both chasing one of these, though. They've yet to win an ASA race.
That big win, that's what it's all about. We'll be back to Elko in just a minute. Speed Channel's live coverage of the ASA Racing Series Grease Lightning Orange Blast 400 has been brought to you by Grease Lightning, the official consumer automotive cleaner degreaser of ASA, and by SK Hand Tools, the official hand tool of the American Speed Association. Well, Jim, without a doubt, this was an absolute brawl here. And, of course, we had some nice things develop up front. Garvey back in winner's circle, but points. We're closing in on the end of this one.
At one point, Butch Miller had a sizable gain today, but as it turned out, it's going to be a 107-point bulge as we go to Indiana Motor Speedway. And Kevin Sawinski leading this charge throughout. Charged his way back through the field at a very consistent run, finished 6th, 1 spot better than Butch, but again gains 10 points because you get points for leading a lap as well. And Mike Garvey, with his finish, has been able to grab that 3rd spot away from Reed Sorensen. 20, 30, 40 grand is the difference between 3rd and 4th in the points.
It's a big swing, and of course, for much of the race, it looked like Sawinski might lose ground to Butch Miller. Bob Dillner, he ended up gaining a bit.
That's right. It was a good points day for Kevin Sawinski, but not exactly the day you wanted right here in your team's hometown.
No, it really wasn't. The Grease Lightning Orange Blast car got a little bit tight in the middle stage of that race, and we just could never get it back. And fortunately, we hung on for a top 10 finish.
Kevin Sawinski's got a pretty good point lead on Butch Miller right now, Rob.
Well, with 100 laps to go, Butch, it looked like you were going to make up a lot of ground today on Kevin Sawinski, and poof, it was gone. What happened?
Typical. If you need a yellow, you can't get one. When you don't need a yellow, they have one every 2 laps.
Well, still a great run for Butch Miller. He's not giving up. He's still got 3 races to go to get it done en route to a possible championship number 3. A great run today for Butch Miller, guys.
Yeah, I think he's putting on a smile, but I think underneath is a little bit of a dour expression there. He's not happy how it's going. By the way, we want to remind you about Driver of the Year. Of course, you can go on to speedtv.com and vote. First quarter, it was Paul Tracy with the win. Second quarter, Matt Kenseth won the balloting. Go online, speedtv.com, post your ballot. That's huge because it now truly comes down to you. You can make a vote and you can make a decision on it. Jim, coming in on the end of this, we just got 3 races left to go in this one. And what are your thoughts, first of all, in terms of what you expect to see in terms of how the season turns out in these last 3 races?
Well, I'm excited to see this season run to such a strong finish, but it's hard to say that it's almost ending. 3 races left, Indiana Motor Speedway. Then they go off to the High Banks at Salem Speedway, one of my favorite racetracks. Sawinski and Butch run so well at any of these events. And the Fairgrounds at Nashville Speedway USA is what the season-ending event is going to be on a Sunday afternoon in October. So as we get into the fall season, the cream rises. Kevin Sawinski certainly has a little bit better mixture of that cream right now than Butch Miller. But the neat thing about it is we get to watch them all live here on Speed.
That's very true. Let's check in with Bob Dillner. Bob, what are your thoughts?
Well, Greg, for Kevin Sawinski, it smells a lot like his 1997 championship run. In that run, he clinched with 2 races to go. I just spoke to Kevin. He said, I'm really hoping to do that again so I can go to Nashville, much like he did back in 1997 when he went to Kenley, went 2 laps down, made those up, and won the final race of the year to get the championship and another big win. Rob?
You know, when we kicked off the season, we could talk about nothing but the bumper crop of rookies, and we've had great rookies, but as the season winds down, it's all about the veterans, all about the past champions. It's the Butch Miller, Kevin Sawinski show all the way to the end. And guys, I think it's going to be a great championship before we get to the end of the year. I don't think it's been decided by any stretch, guys.
I don't think it's been decided, but even Butch himself says if things continue as they are, we're going to lose it because of the way that Sawinski's running in terms of consistency. What I'm looking forward to, Garvey's back. You've also got a couple other guys that are hunting for that first win, and the gauntlet's been thrown. But I think we got a new Mike Garvey, and a Garvey that's patient and can dial a car back in and come through for the win. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Coming up in 19 days, on the 20th of September, is the 15th round of the championship, Indiana Motor Speedway. That is Saturday, September 20th. Make sure you check it out right here, live on Speed. For Jim Trado, for Rob Albright, for returning Bob Dillner, I'm Greg Kramer. We'll see you from Indiana.